I learned to smile while bleeding at a party where my wife told me I shouldn't have sat next to her beautiful friend. The venue was one of those upscale rooftop lounges downtown, all glass railings and Edison bulbs strung between steel beams. Eden's real estate firm was hosting, which meant everything was curated. The bartender's handlebar mustache, the past appetizers on slate tiles, the playlist that was indie enough to feel authentic but mainstream enough not to alienate the older money. I arrived already carrying the weight of small proofs I'd been collecting for 3 weeks, a scent in her hair that didn't match any bottle in our bathroom, a phone charger in her purse with a different brand plug than anything we owned, a calendar block labeled vendor wrap that she'd explained too quickly when I asked about it over coffee. I wasn't crazy, I was careful. The party had that small city energy where everyone knows someone who knows someone. Eden floated through clusters of guests like she owned the air, touching arms, laughing at the right moments, her champagne glass more prop than drink. I recognized the performance. She was working, always working, building her brand of effortless charm. I was parked near the bar, functionally invisible, the reliable husband who showed up and didn't embarrass her. Brielle arrived 20 minutes after I did. That's what Eden called her. My beautiful friend. She said it the way people describe expensive things they want others to know they possess. Brielle wore a black dress with a neckline that suggested risk without crossing into desperation. Her heels made a specific sound on the hardwood, sharp and deliberate. When she hugged Eden, their cheeks touched without their makeup smudging, which I'd learned was a skill rich women practiced. Eden maneuvered the seating at a long communal table like she was arranging chess pieces. She positioned herself between 2 partners from a development group, placed Brielle across from them where the light hit her face best, and left me at the far end next to Brielle. It wasn't accidental. Eden didn't do accidents. I sat. Brielle smiled at me, all teeth and danger, and I smiled back because I was still playing the role of the oblivious husband. Then Eden's voice cut across the table, loud enough for the whole section to hear. "Miles, you shouldn't have sat next to my beautiful friend." The table laughed. Not mean laughter, exactly. Just that social lubrication that smooths over the edge of public humiliation. Brielle's smile held, but something in her eyes sharpened, like she was testing whether I'd bite. I looked at Eden. She was watching me with a smile that didn't reach anywhere real. "Okay," I said. "That's all, just okay." I didn't argue, didn't ask what she meant, didn't perform confusion or embarrassment. I let the words sit there, flat and unreactive, and watched her register it. Her smile tightened for half a second, then she turned back to her audience. But I had already decided. 3 days. I'd give it 3 days to pay her back in kind. The party continued. I stayed in my seat, sipped a beer I didn't want, and took inventory. Eden's fingers rested on the sleeve of a man 2 seats down. I knew him. Grant Halden, sales director for a medical device company that sold equipment to my hospital network. We'd crossed paths in vendor meetings. He had the kind of face that aged well, gray at the temples, expensive watch, wedding ring that caught the light while he leaned close to Eden and said something that made her laugh. The laugh was real. I could tell the difference now. Grant's wife wasn't at the party. Neither was the truth. I watched them disappear to the bathroom area within 90 seconds of each other. Not together, never together, but with the timing of a metronome. Eden went first, touching her hair, checking her phone. Grant followed after a conversation with another vendor rep, excusing himself casually. They were good at it. Practiced. Brielle watched me watching them. She sipped her wine and let the silence between us stretch until it became a question. "You're very quiet," she said. "I'm always quiet," I said. "That's not what I mean." I met her eyes. She was testing me, trying to decide if I was dangerous or just furniture. "I know," I said. She tilted her head, recalibrating. Before she could say anything else, Eden returned from the bathroom, lips freshly glossed, posture perfect. Grant came back 2 minutes later, fixing his cufflink. I memorized everything, the scent of his cologne mixing with her perfume when they both reached for the wine bottle, the way her thumb brushed his wrist when she passed him a napkin, the micro-expressions, his pupils dilating when she leaned in, her breathing shifting when his knee bumped hers under the table. These were the dirty details people whispered about at parties later, the kind of evidence that didn't hold up in court but burned through a social circle like wildfire. Eden specialized in controlling those whispers. She curated her image the way museums curate exhibits. But I was good at patterns. It's what I did for a living. Compliance and risk analysis meant spotting inconsistencies in records, finding where the story didn't match the metadata. People lied with their mouths. Data told the truth. Near the end of the night, Eden's phone lit up inside her purse. The screen faced up just enough for me to see the notification preview before she grabbed it and angled it away. Not his name, a nickname, something inside joke intimate. I felt my face stay perfectly calm while my chest tightened like someone had pulled a drawstring. The weirdest part was how steady I felt. No rage, no tears, just a cold, methodical clarity, like flipping a switch from husband to auditor. I finished my beer. Eden came over eventually, touched my shoulder, played the role of affectionate wife for the last few lingering guests. "Ready to go?" she asked. "Sure," I said. We left together. In the car, she talked about the party, who said what, which partners seemed interested in the new development project. I responded at the right intervals, made the appropriate sounds. She didn't notice I was already gone. When we got home, she kicked off her heels in the entryway, poured herself water, scrolled through her phone while I pretended to check email on the couch. She disappeared into the bedroom, and I heard the shower start. I opened the tablet we shared. Same iCloud account, same photo stream, same app ecosystem. I wasn't hacking, I was using what I legally had access to. I scrolled back through the calendar. The vendor wrap blocks appeared every week, always late afternoon, always ending at odd times. 6:47 p.m., 7:13 p.m. Not round numbers, not meetings. I opened the location history on the shared account. She'd disabled it on her phone 3 months ago, but the metadata lingered in cached map routes. A pattern emerged, repeated stops near a boutique hotel on the east side, the kind of place that didn't ask questions if you paid cash for a room upgrade. I didn't confront her, not yet. Confrontation without a plan was just noise. Instead, I pulled out my notebook, the one I kept for work audits, and started a timeline. Party night was day 0. 3 days from now, she'd walk into our living room and find me sitting with Brielle. I didn't need to seduce anyone. I just needed Eden to feel what I felt, the floor disappearing under her feet. The shower stopped. I closed the tablet, pocketed my phone, and went to bed. Eden slipped in beside me 20 minutes later, her hair damp and smelling like lavender shampoo. She curled into me, her hand resting on my chest. "Love you," she murmured, already half asleep. "Love you too," I said. I stared at the ceiling and calculated. The next morning, I woke before her. She slept with one arm thrown over her face, peaceful, like someone who didn't carry any weight. I made coffee, checked my work email, and waited. She came downstairs in a silk robe, yawning, beautiful in that just woke way some people managed effortlessly. She poured herself coffee, scrolled through her phone, and didn't look at me until I asked a simple question. "How was the vendor wrap yesterday?" She didn't miss a beat. "Long, tedious. You know how those things are." Her tone was perfect. Casual, bored, entirely believable. She even added a detail. Grant was there. He kept going on about some new imaging equipment. I almost fell asleep standing up. I nodded, sipped my coffee, watched her face. No cracks, no tells. She was better than most people I audited. "Sounds exhausting," I said. It was. She kissed my cheek, grabbed a yogurt from the fridge, and headed upstairs to get ready for work. I sat alone in the kitchen, replaying her lie. The smoothness of it. The unnecessary detail about Grant. Cheaters didn't lie like criminals. They lied like customer service reps, polished, apologetic, eager to move past the inconvenience. My phone buzzed. Work email. I answered a few compliance questions, reviewed a vendor audit report, then opened my personal cloud storage. I'd already started screenshotting everything I could legally access. Shared calendar events, shared credit card statements with line items for restaurants and hotels, shared Amazon orders showing purchases I didn't recognize. None of it was a smoking piece of evidence, but together it was a pattern, and patterns told stories. I called Nolan. He picked up on the second ring. "Miles, what's up?" Nolan and I went back to college, one of those friendships that survive distance and life changes because neither of us needed constant maintenance. He worked in building security operations now, managing facilities and camera systems for a corporate plaza downtown. If anyone knew the rules around surveillance and evidence, it was him. "Hypothetical question," I said. "Those are never hypothetical with you. If someone wanted to access security footage from a public building, what's the legal way to do it?" He paused. "Public building meaning?" "Hotel lobby, parking garage, anywhere a reasonable person wouldn't expect privacy." Another pause, longer this time. "You okay, man?" "I'm fine. Just need to know the rules." He sighed. "Okay. Legally, you can request footage if you're involved in an incident, if you're law enforcement, or if you have legitimate business reason and the property owner agrees. You can't just walk in and demand tapes. But if you're, say, trying to verify something for your own peace of mind and you ask nicely, sometimes people cooperate, especially if it's somewhere you're a customer or your name's on a receipt. What about home cameras? Doorbell cams? Your own property? Fair game. You can record whatever you want on your own doorstep. Just can't hack anyone else's devices or plant bugs. Got it. Miles, seriously, what's going on? I'll tell you when I know for sure. I hung up before he could push further. That afternoon, I reviewed our doorbell camera footage. We'd installed it a year ago after a string of package thefts in the neighborhood. It recorded everyone who approached the front door, time-stamped and backed up to the cloud. Eden didn't think about it anymore. It was just part of the house. I checked the logs. 3 weeks ago, Brielle had come over on a Saturday morning when I'd been at the gym. Eden said it was a quick work thing, dropping off samples for an event. But the footage showed Brielle arriving at 9:47 a.m. and not leaving until 11:23 a.m., an hour and a half, for samples. I didn't know what it meant yet, but I saved the clip. That evening, Eden came home late. She texted me at 6, saying she had a last-minute client dinner. She walked in at 10, heels in hand, makeup slightly smudged. "How was dinner?" I asked from the couch. "Exhausting. Client wouldn't stop talking about his divorce." She dropped her purse, stretched. "I need wine." She poured a glass, sat beside me, and rested her head on my shoulder. We watched TV in silence. She smelled like restaurant air and something else. Something faint. I didn't ask. Later in bed, she reached for me. I responded the way a husband was supposed to. Afterward, she fell asleep quickly, her breathing soft and even. I lay awake, staring at the dark ceiling, and thought about day 3. The next morning, I texted Brielle. It was a risk, but a calculated one. I kept the message casual, professional. "Hey, Brielle, Eden mentioned you might be able to help me with something. Got a minute to chat?" She responded in under 5 minutes. "Sure. What's up? Coffee sometime this week?" I'm planning a surprise for Eden and could use some input. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Sounds fun. Tomorrow at 2? The cafe near our office? Perfect. I set the phone down and exhaled slowly. The first piece was in motion. Eden didn't ask about my day when she got home. She was distracted, scrolling through work emails, complaining about a client who kept changing their event requirements. I made dinner, we ate, she went to bed early. I stayed up, refining my timeline, thinking through every possible variable. Day 1 was almost over. 2 more to go. I thought about the party, Eden's voice cutting across the table, the laughter, the casual cruelty of being dismissed in front of people who barely knew me. I thought about Grant's hand on her back, the bathroom disappearances, the hotel metadata, the lies told so smoothly they almost felt like truth, and I thought about how calm I felt. That was the part that would have worried me if I'd had time to worry. I wasn't angry, I was precise. The tablet on the coffee table lit up with a notification. Eden's phone synced to the shared account. A message preview appeared for 1 second before she must have deleted it from her device. "Tomorrow night? Same place?" The message vanished from the screen, but I'd already seen it, already memorized it. I closed my eyes and pictured day 3, the living room, Brielle sitting across from me, the sound of Eden's key in the lock, the exact moment her face would go pale. I smiled in the dark. The weirdest part was how calm I felt. I'd expected anger, rage, that movie moment where the husband throws things and breaks down. Instead, I felt like I was watching myself from somewhere else, clinical and detached, running through a mental checklist the way I did at work when an audit revealed fraud. Coffee with Brielle was set for 2. That gave me the morning to work from home, which Eden wouldn't question. She left at 7:30, kissing my cheek in the entryway, already on her phone before the door closed behind her. I poured a second cup of coffee and opened my laptop. The shared tablet sat on the counter, synced to Eden's iCloud. I wasn't breaking into anything. We'd set up the shared account years ago for convenience. Joint calendar, shared shopping lists, family photos. She'd never thought to separate it. Why would she? I was reliable, trustworthy, furniture. I opened the Photos app and scrolled back 3 months. Most of it was exactly what you'd expect. Event photos from Eden's work, screenshots of furniture she wanted to buy, pictures of meals at restaurants I didn't remember attending. But then I found a cluster of images from mid-September that stopped me. They were screenshots of text conversations, not with me. The contact name was just an initial. G. The messages were deleted from her phone now, but the screenshots remained in the cloud, probably forgotten in the chaos of hundreds of other images. I read through them slowly. "Miss you already. Tonight was perfect. You're perfect. Can't wait to see you again. Same time next week?" The responses from G were equally incriminating. "You're dangerous. I like it. Next week feels like forever. Tell me again what you said in the car." I screenshotted the screenshots, saved them to a private encrypted folder on my work laptop, then deleted my access history. Not because I thought Eden would check, because I wanted clean hands. I opened the shared calendar next. The vendor wrap blocks appeared every Thursday at 5, ending anywhere between 7 and 8. But when I cross-referenced them with her work calendar, which she'd accidentally left synced, I found something interesting. The actual vendor meetings ended at 4. The extra hours weren't work, they were fiction. I pulled up our joint credit card statements. Eden handled most of the finances, which I'd been fine with. She was better at tracking expenses, keeping receipts, filing taxes, but now I combed through every line item from the past 3 months. Most charges were normal: groceries, gas, her work expenses that got reimbursed. But there were anomalies. Charges to a wine bar on the east side that I'd never been to, a boutique hotel restaurant. Twice, a room service charge that appeared, then was refunded the next day, which meant she'd paid cash for the room and only used the card for extras. None of it was definitive. A lawyer would call it circumstantial. But I didn't need a lawyer yet. I needed a map. I pulled up the shared location history. Eden had disabled location services on her phone back in October, citing privacy concerns after some news story about tech companies tracking users. But the map data from before October was still cached in the cloud. I traced her routes. Dozens of trips to the east side, always on Thursday evenings, always stopping at the same boutique hotel parking garage. The location pins clustered around the building like evidence of a habit. I exported the data, saved it, and closed the laptop. Niece, my phone buzzed. "Nolan. Everything okay?" "You sounded weird yesterday," I texted back. "I'm fine. Can I call you later?" "Sure." I didn't call him later. I spent the next 2 hours rehearsing the conversation with Brielle in my head, anticipating every possible response, every angle she might take. At 1:30, I drove downtown. The cafe was one of those aggressively trendy spots with reclaimed wood tables and a chalkboard menu that changed daily. Brielle was already there, sitting near the window, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I walked in, smiled, and waved. I ordered a black coffee and sat across from her. "Thanks for meeting me," I said. "Of course. So what's this surprise for Eden?" I let the question hang for a moment, then leaned forward slightly. "I wanted to ask you about the East Side Hotel, the boutique one near the Riverwalk." Her smile didn't falter, but something in her eyes shifted, recalibrating. "What about it?" Eden mentioned she went there for a work event a few weeks ago. "I'm thinking about booking a room for our anniversary, but I wanted to make sure it's as nice as she said." Brielle's fingers tightened around her coffee cup. "Just barely." "Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. Great views." "Did you go with her? To the event?" "I think so. I go to a lot of things." "Right." I took a sip of coffee, kept my tone casual. "She said you two had drinks at the bar there, that the bartender made this amazing cocktail, some kind of lavender thing." Brielle blinked. "Yeah, I think I remember that." She was lying. I could see it in the micropause before she answered, the way her eyes went left for a fraction of a second. Eden and Brielle hadn't been at that hotel together, but Brielle knew about the hotel, which meant Eden had told her, or Brielle had been covering for her. I smiled. "Good to know. I'll check it out." We talked for another 10 minutes about nothing important. Event planning tips, places to get flowers. She performed the role of helpful friend, but the ease was gone. When I stood to leave, she touched my hand. "Miles, is everything okay?" I met her eyes. "Why wouldn't it be?" "I don't know. You just seem different." "I'm fine," I said. "Thanks again." I left her sitting there, staring after me. That evening, Eden came home at her usual time. She seemed lighter than normal, almost giddy. She put her purse down, poured wine, and came over to the couch where I was reading. "Hey, babe," she said, kissing the top of my head. "How was your day?" "Quiet. Got some work done. You?" "Busy, but good. Brielle said you two met for coffee?" There it was. Brielle had already told her. I nodded. "Yeah. I wanted to plan something nice for our anniversary. She gave me some ideas." Eden's face softened. "That's sweet." She curled up next to me, resting her head on my shoulder. We stayed like that for a while, the TV murmuring in the background. She smelled like her usual perfume and something underneath it, something sharper. Cologne. "I love you," she said suddenly. "I love you too." She squeezed my hand, then got up to start dinner. I stayed on the couch, staring at nothing, thinking about the way her voice had sounded when she said it. Performative, like she was trying to convince herself. Tantra. Later that night, I couldn't stop thinking about the message I'd seen on the tablet. Tomorrow night? Same place? Which meant tonight. Right now, possibly. I waited until Eden went to bed, then checked the tablet again. Nothing new. No messages. But her location history, which I'd been monitoring through the Find My app we'd set up years ago for emergencies, showed she'd turned off her phone's location around 8 p.m. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the dark screen, and felt something cold settle in my chest. She was with him? Right now. While I stood in our house, in the dark, pretending everything was fine. I wanted to drive to the hotel, confront them, end it the ugly way. But I didn't, because revenge wasn't about the immediate satisfaction. It was about making it count. I went to bed, lay there staring at the ceiling, listened to the sound of my own breathing. At some point, I must have fallen asleep, because I woke to the sound of the garage door opening. I checked my phone. 12:47 a.m. Eden slipped into bed beside me, moving carefully, trying not to wake me. I kept my breathing steady, pretended to be asleep. She smelled like wine and mouthwash. Her hair was damp, like she'd showered somewhere. She settled in, her back to me, and within minutes her breathing evened out. I stared at the back of her head and thought about day 3. Tomorrow, I'd set the final pieces in motion. Tomorrow, Brielle would come to our house. Tomorrow, Eden would walk in and see her, and then the floor would drop. I closed my eyes and ran through the plan one more time, every step, every contingency, every possible reaction. By the time morning light filtered through the blinds, I had it all mapped out. Eden woke before me, showered, dressed, and left without saying much. She seemed distracted, checking her phone constantly, typing quick messages. I made coffee, checked my work email, and waited. At 9, I texted Brielle. Hey, could you swing by the house this afternoon? Eden forgot some samples she needed for tomorrow's event. I can't drop them off, but you're close by, right? 3 dots. Then, sure. What time? Around 3? See you then. I set the phone down and exhaled. Now came the part that required precision. I needed Eden to come home early. Not suspiciously early, but early enough to walk in while Brielle was still there. I opened our shared calendar and checked Eden's schedule. She had a site visit at 1, then nothing until a 4:30 meeting. If I could give her a reason to come home between 2:30 and 3:30, the timing would work. I texted her at noon. Hey, I think the AC is acting up. Can you swing by after your site visit and check it? I'm on a work call until 4 and can't get to it. She responded immediately. Ugh, seriously. Okay, I'll come by around 3. Perfect. I spent the next 2 hours cleaning the house, setting the scene. Nothing obvious, just normal. Coffee on the table, work folders spread out. The kind of setting that wouldn't raise immediate alarms but would feel wrong once she processed what she was seeing. At 2:50, Brielle texted, On my way. My heart rate kicked up. I forced myself to stay calm, to breathe normally. The doorbell rang at 2:58. I opened the door. Brielle stood there in a cream-colored blouse and dark jeans, designer bag over her shoulder, sunglasses pushed up into her hair. Hey, she said. Where are the samples? I stepped aside to let her in. In the living room. Thanks for doing this. She walked in, heels clicking on the hardwood, and I closed the door behind her. This was it. Day 3. The revenge was about to land. Now, evidence only matters if it survives daylight. That's what I'd learned in 10 years of compliance work. You could have a smoking piece of proof, a signed confession, a video recording, and none of it would matter if it was obtained illegally or couldn't hold up to scrutiny. Defense attorneys, HR departments, auditors, they all looked for the same thing. Did you follow the rules while gathering it? I'd built my career on understanding those rules. Now I was going to use them. Brielle stood in my living room, looking around with barely concealed curiosity. She was smart enough to know this wasn't really about samples, but not sure enough to call me on it yet. So where are they? She asked. Actually, I need to talk to you about something. Her expression shifted. Guarded. Okay. I gestured to the couch. Sit, please. She hesitated, then sat on the edge of the cushion, posture perfect, ready to bolt if necessary. I took the chair across from her, kept my body language open, non-threatening. I know about Eden and Grant, I said. The color drained from her face. Not dramatically, just a subtle shift, like someone had turned down the saturation. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried to compose herself. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. I kept my voice calm. You've been covering for her. The hotel, the Thursday meetings that aren't really meetings. You knew. She looked toward the door, calculating distance. Relax, I said. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to yell. I just need you to understand something. Understand what? That I'm not the enemy here. She stared at me, trying to figure out my angle. I could see the wheels turning. Was I going to ask her to spy for me? Threaten her? Break down crying? What do you want? She asked finally. I want you to be here when Eden comes home in about 10 minutes. Her eyes widened. What? No, I'm not doing that. You don't have to do anything. Just sit here, have coffee. We'll talk about work, events, whatever. And when she walks in, you stay calm and act normal. Why would I help you? Because Eden's been setting you up. That stopped her. What? She's been telling people you're the one encouraging her behavior, that you're the bad influence, that you cover for her because you like the drama. I leaned forward slightly. She's building a narrative where you're the villain in her story, and when this falls apart, she's going to throw you under the bus to save her reputation. Brielle's jaw tightened. That's not true. Isn't it? Think about how she talks about you. My beautiful friend. Like you're an accessory. She uses you to make herself look better, to create alibis, to play games. But the second it gets messy, who do you think she's going to blame? She looked away, and I knew I'd hit something real. I'm not asking you to lie, I said. I'm just asking you to sit here for 10 minutes. Let her see you with me. Let her feel what it's like to walk into a situation she doesn't control. Brielle bit her lip, thinking. And then what? Then you leave. That's it. No drama, no confrontation. You just walk out, and whatever happens next is between me and Eden. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed, sharp and bitter. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? I don't know. Someone who'd cry, beg, make a scene. I don't make scenes, I said. I make consequences. She studied me, reassessing. Then she sat back on the couch, crossing her legs. Fine, 10 minutes. I heard the garage door. My heart rate spiked, but I kept my breathing steady. Brielle heard it too. Her eyes went to the door, then back to me. Stay calm, I said quietly. The door from the garage opened. Eden's heels clicked on the tile. I heard her set down her purse, heard her walking toward the living room. Then she appeared in the doorway and stopped. Her eyes went to Brielle first, then to me, then back to Brielle. I watched her face cycle through emotions in less than 2 seconds. Confusion, suspicion, calculation, control. Brielle, she said, voice bright and fake. What are you doing here? Brielle stood, smoothing her jeans. Miles asked me to drop something off. Eden's gaze slid to me. Did he? I smiled. The AC is fine, by the way. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Eden's smile stayed frozen, but her eyes went cold. Brielle, could you give us a minute? Eden said. Actually, I was just leaving. Brielle grabbed her bag, gave me a look I couldn't quite read, and walked past Eden toward the door. Eden didn't move, didn't turn to watch her go. She just stared at me. The front door closed. What the hell was that? Eden asked. What was what? Don't play games, Miles. I stood, kept my posture relaxed. I'm not playing anything. I needed her to drop something off. You came home. That's it. You texted me about the AC. I thought it was broken. I was wrong. She crossed her arms. You're lying. Am I? We stood there, 10 feet apart, the air between us crackling with unspoken accusations. She was trying to regain control, to fit this moment into a narrative she could manage, but I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. She didn't know what I knew, didn't know how much I'd figured out, and that scared her. I know about Grant, I said. Her face went blank, pure shutdown. Then she laughed, sharp and incredulous. What? Grant Halden, medical device sales, married. You've been seeing him for at least 3 months. She didn't deny it immediately, which told me everything. Instead, she pivoted. Are you serious right now? You're accusing me of cheating because I work with vendors? I'm not accusing, I'm stating a fact. Based on what? Your paranoid imagination? I pulled out my phone, opened the encrypted folder, and showed her a screenshot of the text messages. Miss you already. Tonight was perfect. She stared at the screen. Her breathing changed. When she looked up, her eyes were different, harder. Where did you get that? Shared iCloud. You screenshotted them and forgot to delete them from the photo stream. You went through my phone? I went through our shared account, the one you set up, the one you never bothered to secure. She was breathing faster now, her control slipping. You had no right. I had every right. We're married, joint accounts, joint access. This is insane. Is it? Because I also have the calendar metadata, the credit card charges, the location history from before you turned it off. I have timestamps, receipts, a paper trail that maps out every Thursday night you spent with him. Her mouth opened, closed. She was calculating, trying to figure out how much I actually had versus how much I was bluffing. You're pathetic, she said finally, spying on me like some stalker. I'm thorough. It's literally my job. You're going to use this against me, aren't you? In a divorce. I haven't decided yet. That threw her. She expected threats, ultimatums, rage. Instead, I was calm, clinical, and that scared her more than yelling ever could. What do you want? She asked. I want you to understand that I'm not the one who's going to come out of this looking bad. You can't prove anything. Actually, I can. Not in a way that would hold up in criminal court, obviously. But in a divorce? In a social circle? In a professional environment where image matters? I shrugged. Yeah, I can prove enough. She stared at me, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely afraid. This isn't over, she said. No, I agreed. It's not. She grabbed her purse and walked back toward the garage. I heard the door slam, heard her car start, heard the garage door close behind her. I stood alone in the living room, my hands shaking slightly, and let out a long breath. Day 3 was done. The first knife had landed, but this was just the beginning. I sat down on the couch and pulled out my work notebook. I'd been building a timeline, a detailed map of every piece of evidence I had. Now I needed to think about the next phase. Grant. He was the other half of this equation. Eden was a cheater, but Grant was a married man who worked for a company that did business with my hospital network. He had vulnerabilities, corporate policies, an image to protect, a wife who thought he was faithful. I opened my laptop and started researching. Grant's company, MedTech Solutions, had a detailed code of conduct posted on their website. I read through it carefully. There were sections on conflicts of interest, inappropriate relationships with clients, and ethics violations. Any employee engaging in behavior that could damage the company's reputation was subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. I pulled up our hospital's vendor relationship policies. Same thing. Vendors were expected to maintain professional boundaries. Any suggestion of impropriety could result in contract review or termination. Grant had been stupid. He'd risked his career for a thrill. Now, I was going to make him pay for it. But I needed more. I needed something concrete that would tie him to Eden in a way that couldn't be dismissed as coincidence or misunderstanding. I thought about the parking garage, the one where Eden's location data showed her stopping every Thursday. If I could get footage of them together, entering the hotel, that would be enough. I called Nolan. Hey, he answered. What's going on? I need your advice on something, legally. Okay. If I wanted to request security footage from a parking garage, what's the process? Depends. Is it a private garage or public? Private, connected to a hotel? Then you'd need to ask the property management. Usually they'll cooperate if you have a legitimate reason, like if your car was vandalized there, or if you're involved in an incident. Why? Hypothetically, if someone wanted to verify whether their spouse was meeting someone at that location, would that count as a legitimate reason? Silence. Then, Miles, this isn't hypothetical, is it? No. He sighed. Okay. Look, you can try asking, but they're not obligated to help you. And if you're planning to use it in a divorce, make sure you talk to a lawyer first, because depending on how you obtain it, it might not be admissible. What if I don't use it in court? What if I just use it elsewhere? Elsewhere like where? Like his HR department, or his wife. Another pause. Jesus, Miles, what happened? Eden's been cheating, with a vendor who works with my hospital. I'm building a case. A case for what? For making sure they both understand they don't get to walk away from this unscathed. Nolan was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Be careful. Don't do anything that's going to come back on you. I won't. I mean it. No breaking and entering, no hacking, no assault. You follow the rules, or you're the one who ends up screwed. I know. That's why I'm calling you. He exhaled. All right. Let me think about the garage thing. I might know someone who works security for that hotel. I'll see what I can do. Thanks. Miles, are you okay? I thought about how to answer that. Was I okay? I didn't know anymore. I will be, I said finally. We hung up. I sat with my laptop, staring at Grant's LinkedIn profile. He looked so confident in his photo. Polished, successful, untouchable. I was going to change that. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you're clever. You're not. Back off. I stared at the message. It had to be Grant. Eden must have told him what happened. I didn't respond. I just screenshotted it and added it to my evidence folder, threatening texts. That was a mistake on his part. I smiled and started planning phase 2. Brielle was the only one who looked nervous, and that meant something. I hadn't expected to see her again so soon. But 2 days after the living room incident, she texted me. We need to talk. I met her at the same cafe, mid-afternoon when it was quiet enough for privacy but public enough to keep things civil. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in the back corner, no sunglasses this time, no polished smile. Just exhaustion around her eyes and tension in her shoulders. I ordered coffee and sat across from her. Thanks for coming, she said. You asked. She turned her cup in slow circles, not drinking. Eden called me that night, after she left your house. And? She was furious, said you were trying to manipulate me, that you are unstable and I shouldn't trust anything you say. Do you believe her? Brielle looked up. I don't know what to believe anymore. Then let me make it simple. Aiden is covering her tracks. She's setting up a narrative where she's the victim and everyone else is either crazy or malicious. That includes me, and eventually it'll include you. Why me? Because you know too much. You've been covering for her, making excuses, providing alibis. When this falls apart, all of that is going to look like you were complicit, maybe even encouraging it. She shook her head. I wasn't. I didn't encourage anything. But you knew. She didn't answer. Brielle, listen to me. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to make sure that when this ends, the people who actually did something wrong are the ones who pay for it, not the bystanders. Then why did you make me sit in your living room while she walked in? That wasn't about justice. That was about hurting her. Yes, I said. It was. She blinked, surprised by my honesty. I'm not going to pretend I'm some noble guy doing the right thing, I continued. I'm angry. I'm hurt. And I want her to feel a fraction of what I felt. But I'm also being smart about it. Everything I've done is legal. Everything I'm planning is calculated, and if you help me, I'll make sure you come out of this clean. Help you how? I leaned forward. Tell me what you know, not guesses. Facts. When did it start? How often do they meet? What has Eden said about me? She bit her lip, thinking. Then she sighed. It started in July, at a work event. Grant was there with a group of vendors. Eden flirted with him, and he flirted back. At first it seemed harmless, just work banter. When did it become more? August, they started messaging, then meeting for drinks. By September it was... She trailed off. An affair. Yeah. What did she tell you about me? Brielle looked uncomfortable. That you were distant. That the marriage was over in everything but name. That you didn't notice her anymore. I laughed, bitter. Of course she did. Is it true? Does it matter? Even if it was true, it doesn't justify what she did. No, it doesn't. What else? She hesitated. She said if you ever found out, she'd make it sound like you were the problem, that you were controlling or paranoid. She had this whole story ready about how you monitored her phone, accused her of things, made her feel trapped. I felt something cold settle in my chest. She was planning to flip it. Yeah. Did she say anything else? Brielle looked away. She asked me if I'd back her up, if you ever confronted her, if I'd tell people that you were acting strange, that you made her uncomfortable. And what did you say? I didn't say anything. I changed the subject. I studied her. She was telling the truth, or at least most of it. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because after you showed her those texts, she called me in a panic, and I realized she was already starting to distance herself from me. She said I needed to be more careful about what I said to people, that I couldn't let anyone think I knew about her and Grant. She's cutting you loose. Yeah. So you're here because you want protection. Brielle met my eyes. I'm here because I'm tired of being used, by her, by everyone. I believed her, or at least I believed she believed it. Okay, I said. Here's what I need. Written confirmation of what you just told me. Dates, messages, anything you have that proves she was planning to set me up. I don't have messages. We mostly talked in person. Then write down what you remember. Times, places, what she said. Make it detailed. And if I do this, then when the story goes public, I'll make sure everyone knows you weren't part of the deception. You were a friend who got manipulated. She considered that. What are you planning to do? I'm going to make sure Grant loses his job and his marriage, and I'm going to make sure Eden loses her reputation. That's harsh. So was cheating on me and planning to make me the villain. She couldn't argue with that. We finished our coffee in silence. Before she left, she pulled out her phone and showed me something, a text thread between her and Eden from 3 weeks ago. Can you cover for me Thursday? Tell Miles I'm with you if he asks. Brielle had responded, Sure. I didn't ask questions, Brielle said. I should have. Save that thread. Send it to yourself somewhere Eden can't access, and then write down everything you remember. I will. She left. I stayed, finishing my coffee, thinking about how many pieces were falling into place. That evening, I checked the doorbell camera footage again. I'd saved the clip of Brielle arriving that Saturday morning 3 weeks ago, staying for 90 minutes. Now I scrolled back further, looking for other patterns. I found them. Grant's car in my driveway. Twice. Once in late September when I'd been at a conference. Once in early October when I'd been working late. He'd been in my house, with my wife, while I was gone. I felt rage flash hot and bright, then forced it down. Anger without control was just noise. I needed control. I needed a plan. The next morning, I drove to the parking garage Nolan had mentioned, the boutique hotel on the east side. I didn't go inside. I just parked across the street and watched. At 5:45 p.m., Eden's car pulled into the garage. I'd been tracking it through the GPS locator on our shared insurance app. She'd turned off her phone's location, but she'd forgotten about the car. At 5:52, Grant's car entered the same garage. I took photos, not close-ups, just enough to show the vehicles, the timestamps, the location. At 7:30, they both left. Separately. Always separately. I drove home before Eden did and was sitting on the couch, reading, when she walked in. Hey, she said, dropping her purse. How was your day? Fine. Yours? Long. Vendor meeting ran late. Which vendor? She paused, just a fraction of a second. MedTech. Grant's team had questions about the new contract. I thought that contract was finalized last month. It was. This was follow-up. At a hotel? She froze. What? The meeting. Was it at a hotel? No, it was at their office. Why would it be at a hotel? I shrugged. Just asking. She stared at me, trying to figure out what I knew. I kept my expression neutral. You're acting weird, she said finally. Am I? Yes. Ever since the thing with Brielle. What thing? Don't play dumb, Miles. I set down my book. I'm not playing anything. You're the one who's been lying for months. Don't turn this around on me. I haven't been lying. Yes, you have, and I'm done pretending I don't know. She grabbed her purse and headed upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close, heard the shower start. I pulled out my phone and texted Nolan. I need that security footage. Soon. He responded 10 minutes later. Working on it. Give me a few days. I could wait a few days. In the meantime, I started preparing the file. Everything I had, organized chronologically. Screenshots, receipts, location data, witness statements from Brielle, photos of the parking garage. It wasn't enough for a criminal case, but it was more than enough for what I had planned. Grant thought he was safe because he was careful. He thought his career and his marriage were insulated from consequences. He was wrong, and soon he'd figure that out. I didn't need sleep. I needed timing. The living room moment with Brielle had been a warning shot. Now came the precision strike. But it had to be perfect. One misstep and everything I'd built would collapse into he-said-she-said chaos. I sat at my desk at 2 a.m, the house dark and silent around me, and mapped out every variable. The goal wasn't to catch them in bed. That was movie logic, dramatic and useless. The goal was to create a situation where Eden would experience the exact discomfort she'd inflicted on me, walking into a room and seeing her control evaporate. But I couldn't manufacture evidence. Everything had to be defensible, documented, clean. I thought about the cameras. We had 3 in the house. Doorbell, garage entry, and a living room smart display that had a camera we rarely used. All legal, all mine. I pulled up the doorbell app on my phone and reviewed the settings. 24-hour recording, cloud backup, time-stamped, perfect. Then I thought about Brielle. She'd already proven she'd cooperate under the right circumstances. The question was how to create another scenario that would twist the knife without crossing any lines. At 6 a.m., I texted her. I need one more favor. Last time, I promise. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. What kind of favor? Come by the house tomorrow afternoon. Stay for 30 minutes. We'll have coffee, talk about work stuff. Normal and boring. Eden doesn't need to know it's planned. Why? Because I want her to see that I have options too. Long pause. Then, this feels like a game. It is. But she started it. Another pause. Fine. What time? 2 p.m. Park on the street, not the driveway. Why? Because the doorbell camera needs a clean shot of you arriving. You really thought this through. That's my job. She sent a thumbs up emoji and nothing else. I set the phone down and felt my pulse steady. Step 1, locked. Next, I needed Eden home at the right time. Not suspicious, not contrived, just unfortunate timing. I opened her calendar on the shared account. She had a client meeting downtown at noon, then a gap until 4. If I could create urgency, she'd fill that gap by coming home. I waited until 7 until I heard her moving around upstairs. Then I went up, coffee in hand, wearing my concerned husband face. "Hey," I said, leaning in the doorway. "Do you have plans tomorrow afternoon?" She looked up from her phone, mascara wand paused mid-stroke. "Why?" "Internet's been glitchy. I'm having someone come look at the router around 2. Thought you'd want to know in case you're working from home." "I'm not. I'll be out until 4. "Okay. Just wanted to mention it. Thanks." She went back to her makeup. I went back downstairs, smiling. She'd taken the bait. She wouldn't come home at 2 because she'd think I'd be busy with a technician, which meant when I texted her at 2:15 with an urgent reason to return, she wouldn't suspect it was staged. The rest of the day passed in slow motion. Work emails, vendor reports, conference calls I barely heard. My mind was 3 steps ahead, running scenarios, anticipating reactions. At 5 p.m., Eden came home and went straight upstairs. At 6, she came down wearing different clothes, going out clothes. "Where are you headed?" I asked. "Dinner with a client. The downtown project." "Which client?" "Why do you care?" "Just asking." "It's confidential, Miles. You know that." I nodded, watching her check her reflection in the hallway mirror. She looked perfect. Hair styled, makeup precise, jewelry understated but expensive. "Have fun," I said. She hesitated, like she wanted to say something, then just nodded and left. I checked the GPS tracker on her car. She drove toward downtown, then past it, then toward the east side, toward the hotel. I sat alone in the living room, the TV on but muted, and felt nothing, just cold calculation. At 9 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Nolan, got something for you. Can you meet tomorrow morning?" "Where?" "Coffee shop near the hospital." 8 a.m. I'll be there. I barely slept. When I did, I dreamed in timelines and flowcharts, every possibility branching into probability trees. Eden came home at 11, showered, slipped into bed without saying a word. I pretended to be asleep and listened to her breathing even out. The next morning, I was out of the house by 7:30. Nolan was already at the coffee shop when I arrived, sitting in a back booth with a manila envelope in front of him. "You look terrible," he said. "Haven't been sleeping much." He pushed the envelope toward me. "This is from a friend who works hotel security. I didn't tell him why you needed it. Just said you were dealing with a personal situation." I opened the envelope. Inside were printed stills from parking garage security footage. Time-stamped. Clear. Eden's car entering at 5:48 p.m. last Thursday. Grant's car entering at 5:53 p.m. Both cars leaving around 7:30 p.m. Another set from the Thursday before. Same pattern. "This is gold," I said quietly. "It's also probably not admissible in court, if it comes to that. My guy bent some rules getting it for you." "I'm not using it in court." "Then what are you using it for?" "HR and leverage." Nolan leaned back, studying me. "You've changed." "Have I?" "Yeah, you're colder." "I'm realistic." "That's what cold people say." I looked at the photos again. Eden and Grant, both married, meeting at a hotel every Thursday. Predictable. Stupid. "Thanks for this," I said. "Don't thank me. Just don't do anything that gets you in trouble." "I won't." He didn't look convinced, but he didn't argue. We finished our coffee and I drove home. At 1 p.m., I made fresh coffee, set out 2 mugs, put a work folder on the coffee table, made the living room look natural, unthreatening. At 1:50, I texted Eden, "Hey, the router guy found something weird. Can you come home for a sec?" "Might need you to call the ISP," she responded immediately. "Seriously? I'm in the middle of something." "I know. Sorry. Won't take long." "Fine. Be there in 20. I set the phone down and forced myself to breathe normally. At 2:02, Brielle texted. "On my way." At 2:07, the doorbell camera alerted me. I pulled up the feed on my phone and watched Brielle walk up the front steps, her car visible parked on the street behind her. I opened the door before she could knock. "Hey," I said. "Thanks for coming." "This is insane," she whispered. "It's almost over. Just act normal." We sat in the living room. I poured coffee. We talked about nothing. Event planning, upcoming holidays, safe topics that would sound innocuous if anyone asked later. At 2:19, I heard the garage door. Brielle heard it too. Her eyes went wide. "Relax," I said quietly. "Just keep talking." She swallowed, nodded, and said something about a December gala. I responded, keeping my voice even. The garage door closed, footsteps in the kitchen, then Eden appeared in the living room doorway and stopped cold. Her eyes went to Brielle, then to me, then to the coffee mugs, the casual posture, the easy conversation. "What's going on?" Eden asked, voice carefully controlled. Brielle stood, smoothing her skirt. "Hey, Eden, Miles was just giving me some input on the holiday event." Eden's gaze didn't leave me. "Was he?" "Yeah, I should probably get going, though." Brielle grabbed her purse and edged toward the door. "Thanks, Miles. I'll email you those details." "Sounds good?" She left quickly, not looking back. The front door closed. Eden and I stood 10 feet apart. "What the hell was that?" she asked. "What do you mean?" Don't play dumb with me." I walked to the kitchen, poured myself water. She needed advice. I gave it. You walked in, that's all. "You texted me to come home." "The router was acting up." "There's nothing wrong with the router." "I figured that out after you were already on your way." She followed me into the kitchen, her heels sharp on the tile. "You staged this. You wanted me to see her here." "Why would I do that?" "Because you're trying to get back at me." I turned to face her. "Get back at you for what, Eden?" She opened her mouth, closed it. The trap was perfect. If she accused me of revenge, she'd have to admit what she'd done to deserve it. "This is crazy," she said finally. "Is it?" "Yes. You're acting paranoid and controlling, and I don't know what you think you're proving, but it's not working." "I'm not trying to prove anything. I was talking to Brielle about an event. You came home. That's it." "I don't believe you." "I don't care." She stared at me, breathing hard, trying to find a foothold, but there wasn't one. Everything I'd done was defensible, innocent on the surface, and she knew it. "I'm done with this," she said. "Done with what?" "You. This. Whatever game you're playing." "I'm not playing a game. You are." She turned and walked upstairs. I heard the bedroom door slam. I stood in the kitchen, hands shaking slightly, and pulled out my phone. The doorbell footage had captured everything. Brielle arriving, Eden arriving, the timestamps, the expressions. Perfect. I uploaded it to my encrypted cloud storage, then opened the file I'd been building. Added the parking garage photos Nolan had given me. Added Brielle's written statement. Added the doorbell footage. It was all coming together. Now came the hard part. Grant. I opened my laptop and pulled up his company's ethics hotline. Anonymous reporting, confidential investigation process, perfect. But I didn't submit anything yet. I needed one more piece, something concrete that would tie him directly to policy violations. I spent the next hour digging through our hospital's vendor meeting records, found emails between Grant and our procurement team, found calendar invites, found expense reports, and then I found it. A vendor dinner from October. Grant had expensed it to his company. But according to our hospital policy, vendors couldn't expense meals with clients that exceeded a certain amount. This one was triple the limit. Small violation, but a violation. I saved the record, added it to my file, and leaned back. I had everything I needed. Tomorrow, the dominoes would start falling. The sound of a key in a lock is a trigger when you're expecting consequences. 3 days had passed since the plan started. Now it was crystallizing into something harder than intention. The living room was staged exactly how I needed it. Neutral lighting from the floor lamp, 2 coffee mugs on the table, the work folder open to event planning documents. Brielle sat across from me, legs crossed, hands folded in her lap. She looked nervous. "You're sure about this?" she asked quietly. "I'm sure." "And what exactly am I supposed to do when she walks in?" "Nothing. Just sit there. Let her see you. Let her connect the dots." This is cruel. So was cheating on me and planning to call me unstable. She didn't have an answer for that. I checked my phone. Iden had texted 5 minutes ago that she was leaving the office. Traffic would put her here in 12 minutes. I'd timed it perfectly. Brielle picked at her cuticles. "What if she flips out?" "She won't. Not immediately. She's too controlled for that." "You really think you know her that well?" "I know what she values most. Image, control, being the smartest person in the room. Right now, She's about to walk into a room where she's not in control and she doesn't have all the information. That's worse than screaming. We sat in silence. I heard the wall clock ticking, heard traffic outside, heard my own pulse in my ears. Then I heard the garage door rumbling open. Brielle's eyes went wide. She's here. Stay calm. Easy for you to say. The garage door closed. A car door opened and closed. Footsteps in the kitchen. The sound of a purse being set down. Then heels on the hardwood, getting closer. Eden appeared in the living room doorway and stopped. Her face went through a sequence. Confusion, recognition, calculation. Her eyes landed on Brielle first, then me, then scanned the room for context clues. The coffee mugs, the open folder, the relaxed body language. For a fraction of a second, the color drained from her face. Then she recovered, smiled. But it was the wrong smile. Too tight, too controlled. Brielle, she said, voice bright and false. I didn't know you were coming over. Brielle stood, smoothing her blouse. Miles asked me to drop by. Something about the December gala. Eden's gaze shifted to me. Did he? I nodded. We were just going over vendor options. She's been really helpful. I'm sure she has. The room felt like a vacuum. No one moved. Eden's smile stayed frozen while her eyes calculated. She was trying to figure out what this was. Innocent? Retaliation? Proof of something she couldn't name? Well, Brielle said, grabbing her bag. I should get going. Thanks for the coffee, Miles. Anytime. She edged past Eden, who didn't turn to watch her go. Just kept staring at me. The front door opened and closed. Silence. What was that? Eden asked finally. What was what? Don't. I stood, stretched, walked to the kitchen. She needed advice on vendors. I helped. You came home. That's the whole story. She followed me. You're lying. Am I? Yes. You set this up. You wanted me to see her here. Why would I care if you saw her here? Because you're trying to make some kind of point. I turned to face her. What point would that be? She opened her mouth, then stopped. Because answering would require admitting she'd done something worth retaliating for. I let the silence stretch. Watched her face cycle through options. She couldn't accuse me without incriminating herself. Couldn't explode without looking unstable. Couldn't control the narrative because she didn't have the full picture. You shouldn't have sat next to my beautiful friend, I said quietly. Her eyes went wide. What? That's what you said at the party. Remember? When you embarrassed me in front of everyone. That was a joke. Was it? Yes. Didn't feel like one. She crossed her arms. So this is revenge? Inviting Brielle here to... What? Make me jealous? I'm not making you anything. I had a conversation. You walked in, that's all. I don't believe you. I don't need you to. She stared at me, and I saw the exact moment she realized I wasn't the same person I'd been a month ago. The quiet husband who let things slide, who avoided conflict, who prioritized her comfort over his own. That version of me was gone. I know about Grant, I said. She went very still. What? Grant Halden. Married, sales director, medical device company. You've been seeing him since July. She didn't deny it immediately, which was its own confession. Instead, she said, You've lost your mind. Have I? Yes. You're paranoid and making things up because you're insecure. I have screenshots, calendar data, location history, photos from the parking garage. Her breathing changed. You've been spying on me. I've been using our shared accounts, the ones you set up, the ones you forgot to secure. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. Joint accounts, joint access, completely legal. She was breathing faster now. You can't prove anything. I don't need to prove it in court. I just need to prove it to your boss, his wife, his HR department. Her face went pale. You wouldn't. Why not? Because it would destroy both of us. It would destroy you and Grant. I'll be fine. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone, opened the encrypted folder, and showed her the parking garage photo. Time-stamped. Clear. Her car and Grant's car, both entering the hotel garage within minutes of each other. She stared at the screen. Where did you get that? Security footage, legally obtained. That doesn't prove anything. We could have been there for a meeting. At a hotel? At 7 p.m.? Every Thursday for 3 months? She had no answer. I kept going. I also have the text message screenshots you forgot to delete, the credit card charges, the calendar blocks that don't match your actual work schedule, and I have Brielle's statement confirming you've been lying about where you were. Brielle wouldn't do that. She already did. Eden's mouth opened and closed. For the first time in the 10 years I'd known her, she looked genuinely afraid. "What do you want?" she whispered. "I want you to understand that I'm not the person who's going to look bad when this gets out. You can't release that. It would ruin me." "Yes, it would." "Miles, please." "Please what? Please forget that you cheated on me? Please ignore that you were planning to call me controlling and unstable to protect yourself? I wasn't—" "Yes, you were. Brielle told me. You asked her to back you up if I ever confronted you. You were building a narrative where I was the problem." Tears filled her eyes. Real or performed, I couldn't tell anymore. "I'm sorry." "No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught." "That's not true." "Then prove it. Tell me everything. When it started. How many times? Why?" She wiped her eyes. "It just happened." "No, it didn't. You made choices, you lied, you covered your tracks. That's not something that just happens." "I don't know what you want me to say." "I want you to say you understand that there are consequences." She looked at me with something that might have been hatred. "What are you going to do?" "I haven't decided yet." "You're going to send that to his company, his wife?" "Maybe." "That's not fair." Neither was cheating on me. We stood there, the kitchen feeling smaller and smaller. She was calculating options. I could see it in her eyes. Apology, bargaining, tears, anger. She'd cycle through all of them, looking for the one that would get her out of this. But there wasn't one. "Get out," she said finally. "This is my house, too." "Then I'll leave." "Where are you going to go? To Grant?" She flinched. "Does he know I know?" I asked. "Have you told him?" "Yes." "What did he say?" "That you're bluffing, that you can't prove anything." I laughed. "He's wrong. You're going to ruin his life. He ruined mine. Fair trade." She grabbed her purse and headed for the garage. I didn't stop her. Heard the car start, heard the garage door open, heard her drive away. I stood alone in the kitchen, my hands shaking, and let out a long breath. The knife had landed. 3 days later, exactly as planned, she'd walked into our living room and gone pale. But this was just the beginning. I pulled out my phone and texted Nolan. "It's time. I need the rest of the evidence." He responded immediately. On it. I sat down on the couch and opened my laptop. The file was nearly complete. Calendar data, screenshots, parking garage photos, Brielle's written statement, doorbell footage. Now I needed to weaponize it. Grant thought he was safe, thought he could threaten me with vague messages and hide behind his corporate polish. He was about to learn what consequences looked like. I pulled up MedTech Solutions' ethics hotline website. Anonymous, confidential, perfect. But I didn't submit anything yet. I wanted maximum impact, which meant timing it for when it would hurt the most. I checked Grant's LinkedIn. He had a post from 3 days ago about a major contract renewal presentation scheduled for next week. Big client, high stakes, perfect. I'd wait until the day before his presentation. Then I'd submit the ethics complaint with all the evidence. Let him scramble. Let him feel the floor collapse under him right when he needed stability most. I closed the laptop and looked around the empty house. For the first time in weeks, I felt something like peace. Not happiness, not closure, just the cold satisfaction of a plan coming together. 3 days had passed since the party. The living room moment had landed exactly as intended. Now came the part where I stopped being the victim and became the villain in their story. And I was fine with that. The twist was that Brielle wasn't loyal. She was curious. That realization came 3 days after the living room confrontation. Eden had been avoiding me, sleeping in the guest room, leaving early for work, and coming home late. We existed in the same house like hostile roommates, passing each other in hallways without speaking. I didn't care. I was busy. Brielle texted me on a Wednesday afternoon. "Can we talk?" "In person." I met her at a park this time, neutral territory, public enough for safety, quiet enough for honesty. She was sitting on a bench near the pond when I arrived, wearing sunglasses even though it was overcast. I sat beside her. "What's up?" She didn't look at me, just stared at the water. "Eden came to see me yesterday." "And?" "She's planning something. Against you." I felt my pulse kick up but kept my voice calm. "What kind of something?" "She said you've been acting erratic, that you've been following her, accusing her of things, making her feel unsafe. She asked me to document instances where you seemed unstable." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Of course she did. I didn't agree to it." "Why not?" She finally looked at me. "Because I'm not stupid. She's building a narrative. And when it falls apart, everyone she used to build it is going to go down with her." Smart. She also said you've been talking to lawyers, that you're planning to divorce her and take everything. I haven't talked to any lawyers. She doesn't know that. I thought about that. Eden was in full defense mode now, creating stories, lining up allies, preparing for war, which meant she was scared. Good. What else did she say? I asked. Brielle shifted on the bench. She said if you tried to expose her affair, she'd tell people you were abusive, that you monitored her phone, controlled her movements, isolated her from friends. None of that's true. I know, but she'll make it sound true. She's good at that. I'd known this was coming, but hearing it confirmed still felt like a punch. Did she give you any proof? I asked. Any examples of me being abusive? No, she said she's been documenting things privately, keeping notes, screenshots of arguments. Arguments we haven't had. Exactly. I leaned back, processing. Eden wasn't just covering her tracks. She was actively trying to bury me. And if she succeeded, everything I'd built, the evidence, the timeline, the careful documentation, would be dismissed as the paranoid ravings of a controlling husband. Show me what she sent you, I said. Brielle pulled out her phone and opened a text thread. I read through it carefully. Eden's messages were calculated, emotional enough to seem genuine, but vague enough to avoid concrete accusations. Miles has been acting strange lately, checking my phone, asking where I've been. I'm starting to feel scared in my own house. Can you remember any times he seemed overly controlling? I need to start documenting this in case things escalate. I know this is a lot to ask, but you're one of my closest friends. I need your support. Classic manipulation, vague accusations, emotional appeals, requests for documentation that could be twisted later. Did you respond? I asked. I said I hadn't noticed anything concerning, but I'd think about it. Good. Don't give her anything. I won't. I handed her phone back. There's something else you should know. Eden's not just building a case against me. She's also been preparing to cut you loose. What do you mean? She's been telling people you're the one who encouraged the affair, that you covered for her because you like drama. When this blows up, she's going to make you the scapegoat. Brielle's jaw tightened. That's not true. Doesn't matter. By the time she's done spinning it, people will believe her version. How do you know? I pulled out my phone and showed her screenshots I'd taken from Eden's work messages. Messages I'd found through our shared tablet. Messages Eden had synced accidentally before realizing and deleting them. Brielle keeps pushing me to take risks. I think she gets off on other people's drama. I'm worried Brielle might say something if this gets out. She knows too much. Brielle read the messages, her face going pale. She's already starting. Yeah. What do I do? You protect yourself. Write down everything Eden asked you to do. Every lie she wanted you to tell. Every time she tried to use you as an alibi. Date it, save it. And when the story breaks, you make sure everyone knows you weren't complicit. She nodded slowly. You're really going to destroy her. I'm going to make sure the truth comes out. What happens after that is on her. We sat in silence for a minute. Then Brielle said, There's something else. What? Eden's been asking about security footage, your doorbell camera. She wanted to know if there was a way to delete recordings remotely. My blood went cold. When was this? Last week, after you had me over. What did you tell her? That I didn't know. But she's clearly worried about what you might have recorded. I thought about that. The doorbell footage showing Brielle arriving, Eden arriving, the timestamps proving I'd staged the whole thing. If Eden could delete it, half my evidence disappeared. Can she access your cloud account? Brielle asked. No, I changed the password after I found the affair. Good. I pulled up the camera app on my phone and checked the settings. Everything was locked down. Two-factor authentication, encrypted backup. Eden couldn't touch it without my phone and my password. But the fact that she'd tried meant she knew the footage was damaging. Thanks for telling me, I said. There's more. Of course there is. Brielle took a breath. Eden's been talking to someone, a friend of hers who's a lawyer. Not officially, just feeling out options. Options for what? For how to protect herself if you file for divorce, and how to make you look bad if you try to use the affair as leverage. I'd expected this too, but it still stung. Did she mention the lawyer's name? No, but she said they gave her advice on how to document emotional distress caused by a spouse, which she's now trying to manufacture. Exactly. This was worse than I'd thought. Eden wasn't just defending herself. She was building an offensive strategy, and if she succeeded, I'd be the one who ended up looking like the bad guy. I needed to move faster. Brielle, I need you to write all of this down. Everything Eden asked you to do, everything she said about me, everything about her lawyer conversations, date it, sign it, Send it to me. Will that hold up in court? I don't know, but it's better than nothing, she nodded. Okay. And don't tell Eden we talked. I won't. We stood. Brielle looked at me with something like sympathy. You really loved her, didn't you? Past tense, like it was already over. Yeah, I said. I did. I'm sorry. Don't be. She made her choices. I left Brielle at the park and drove home. The house was empty. Eden was still at work, or pretending to be. I sat at my desk and opened the file. Added Brielle's new information, updated the timeline, thought about Eden's counter strategy. She was smart, calculating, and she had resources. But I had something she didn't: patience and precision. She was reacting. I was executing. That evening, I got an email from an unfamiliar address. Subject line: You should stop. I opened it. You don't know what you're doing. Back off before someone gets hurt. No signature, no details, but I knew it was Grant. I forwarded the email to my evidence folder, then responded with a single line. Try me. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? You need to leave this alone. Grant's voice, tight, angry. Or what? Or you're going to regret it. Is that a threat? It's a warning, I laughed. From a guy who's been sleeping with my wife? That's rich. You don't have any proof. Actually, I do. Parking garage footage, text messages, calendar data, expense reports that violate your company's ethics policy. Want me to keep going? Silence. I didn't think so, I continued. Here's how this is going to work. You're going to stay away from Eden. You're going to stop threatening me. And if you're lucky, maybe I won't send everything I have to your HR department and your wife. You're making a mistake. No, you made the mistake. I'm just cleaning up the mess. He hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, heart pounding. Grant was scared. Eden was preparing a defense, and I was sitting on enough evidence to ruin both of them. But I needed to be smart about when and how I deployed it. I pulled up Grant's LinkedIn again. His big presentation was in 5 days, contract renewal, high stakes, perfect timing. I'd submit the ethics complaint the day before, let him walk into that presentation knowing his career was imploding, and then I'd sit back and watch. The twist wasn't just that Eden was planning to frame me. The twist was that I'd known she would, and I'd already planned 3 moves ahead. I followed once, and only once, because I needed one clean confirmation. Tracking someone sounds dramatic until you realize how mundane it is. No high-speed chases, no disguises, just patience, data, and knowing where to look. It was a Thursday. Eden left work at 5:15, same as every Thursday for the past 3 months. I knew because I'd been monitoring our shared car GPS through the insurance app she'd forgotten to disable. I watched the blue dot on my phone move across the city, downtown, east, toward the boutique hotel parking garage. I'd already driven there an hour earlier, parked across the street in a public lot where I had a clean sightline. My car was just one of dozens, invisible. At 5:43, Eden's car turned into the garage entrance. I zoomed in on my phone's camera, set it to video, and waited. 2 minutes later, Grant's car followed. I recorded both vehicles entering. Time-stamped. Clear. My hands were shaking, not from anger, from adrenaline. This was it. Visual confirmation. No circumstantial data. No maybe she was just there for work. 2 cars, same garage, minutes apart. I stopped recording and forced myself to breathe. The hard part was waiting. I couldn't follow them inside. Couldn't risk being seen. So I sat in my car, windows cracked, evening air cooling, and watched the garage entrance. At 6:15, I decided to take a risk. I crossed the street, walked into the garage like I belonged there. Walked like someone heading to their car, confident, purposeful. The garage was half full, concrete pillars, fluorescent lights. I kept my head down, scanning for Eden's car. Found it on the 2nd level. Parked in a corner spot. Empty. Grant's car was 3 spaces over. I pulled out my phone and took photos. License plates visible. Location clear. Then I walked back toward the stairs and froze. Footsteps, echoing from the stairwell above me. I ducked behind a pillar, pulse hammering, and waited. 2 people descended the stairs. A man and a woman, laughing softly. I couldn't see their faces from my angle, but I recognized Eden's voice. Can't believe you said that. Grant's laugh. I couldn't help it. They reached the 2nd level and walked toward their cars. I stayed hidden, phone out, recording video. They stopped between the vehicles. Grant's hand on Eden's waist, her hand on his chest, A kiss, not passionate, casual, comfortable, like they'd done it 100 times. I zoomed in, got their faces, got the timestamp. Then I heard another set of footsteps, a security guard walking his rounds, clipboard in hand. I turned and walked the opposite direction, fast but not running, and took the stairs down to the first level. Heart pounding, hands shaking. Behind me, I heard the guard call out, "Excuse me, sir?" I kept walking, out of the stairwell, across the first level, toward the exit. "Sir, can I talk to you for a second?" I turned. The guard was in his 50s. Heavy-set, bored expression. Not aggressive, just doing his job. "Yeah?" I said. "You have a vehicle here?" "Yeah, second level. Just realized I parked on the wrong floor." "What kind of car?" My mind raced. "Honda Accord, silver." "You need help finding it?" "No, I'm good. Thanks, though." He studied me for a second, then nodded. "All right. Have a good night." "You too." I walked out of the garage, forcing myself not to run. Got back to my car, sat there for 5 minutes, breathing hard, replaying what just happened. That was too close. But I had what I needed. I checked the video on my phone. Clear, faces visible. Timestamp showing date and time. Eden and Grant, together, in a parking garage, kissing. Not definitive proof of an affair in a legal sense, but devastating in every other way. I drove home, hands still shaking, and uploaded the video to my encrypted cloud storage. Then I sat in my car in my own driveway and tried to process what I'd just done. I'd followed my wife to a hotel, recorded her with another man, nearly got caught by security. This wasn't compliance work. This was something darker, but it was necessary. I went inside. The house was empty. I poured a glass of water, hands still trembling, and sat at the kitchen table. My phone buzzed. "Eden. Working late. Don't wait up." I stared at the message. She was still there, still with him. I didn't respond. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. "Nolan. You okay? Haven't heard from you in a few days." I called him. "Hey," he answered. "What's up?" "I did something stupid." "How stupid?" "I followed them to the parking garage. Got video of them together." Silence. Then, "Please tell me you didn't break any laws." "I didn't. I stayed in public areas. Didn't break into anything. Didn't plant any devices." "Did anyone see you?" "A security guard talked to me, but I had a cover story. Told him I was looking for my car." "Did he buy it?" "I think so." Nolan sighed. "Miles, you need to be careful. One misstep and all your evidence becomes worthless." "I know." "Do you? Because it sounds like you're getting reckless." "I'm not. I'm being strategic." "Strategic would be hiring a private investigator. What you're doing is dangerous." "I can't afford a PI, and I don't trust anyone else with this." "Then at least talk to a lawyer before you do anything else." "I will." "When?" "Soon." "Miles, I know what I'm doing, Nolan." "Do you?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're spiraling." I didn't answer. "Look," he continued, softer now. "I get it. You're hurt. You're angry. But don't let this turn you into someone you're not." "What if I'm already there?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Then you need to figure out if that's who you want to be." We hung up. I sat alone in the dark kitchen and thought about his words. Was I spiraling? Was I becoming someone I didn't recognize? Maybe, but I was too far in to stop now. Eden came home at 11, showered, slipped into the guest room without a word. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, and thought about the video on my phone. Grant's hand on her waist, her hand on his chest, the kiss. I'd seen it with my own eyes now. Not data, not circumstantial evidence. Actual, visual proof. And it didn't hurt the way I expected it to. It just made me colder. The next morning, I woke early and opened my laptop, pulled up the video, watched it 3 times, studied their body language, the ease, the familiarity. Then I opened Grant's company website and found the ethics hotline submission form. I started typing. "I am reporting a policy violation by Grant Halden, sales director. Mr. Halden has been engaging in an inappropriate relationship with a client contact, which violates the company's conflict of interest and ethics policies. I have documentation including parking garage footage, expense report discrepancies, and calendar evidence showing repeated meetings outside of normal business hours." I attached the parking garage video, the expense report showing the over-limit vendor dinner, screenshots of calendar blocks. Then I hesitated. Submitting this would be irreversible. Grant's career would implode. His marriage would likely end. His reputation would be destroyed. Was I really going to do this? I thought about Eden's face at the party, her voice cutting across the table, the casual cruelty. I thought about the lies, the gaslighting, the plan to frame me as unstable. I clicked submit, the form processed. A confirmation screen appeared. Your report has been submitted. A case number has been assigned. You will be contacted if we need additional information. I closed the laptop and exhaled slowly. The first domino had fallen. Now I just had to wait for the rest to follow. Some men fight with fists. I fight with policies. 2 days after I submitted the ethics complaint, Grant's world started unraveling. I knew because I was watching. LinkedIn first. His post stopped. The contract renewal presentation he'd been promoting disappeared from his profile. Not deleted, just gone. Then I checked his company's vendor portal. I had legitimate access. Part of my hospital compliance role was monitoring vendor relationships. Grant's account status changed from active to under review. That was corporate speak for suspended pending investigation. I allowed myself a small smile. But I wasn't done. Grant's career was one pillar. His marriage was another. I'd been thinking about Sloane, Grant's wife, for days now. From what I could piece together through social media, she was smart, corporate attorney, the kind of woman who didn't suffer fools. She deserved to know. But I couldn't just send her the evidence. That would be cruel, messy, potentially legally problematic. I needed her to discover it in a way that looked organic. So I created a new email account. Generic. Untraceable. Subject line, you should see this. Body. I thought you deserved to know who your husband really is. I attached 3 things. 1. The parking garage video, edited to focus only on Grant and Eden kissing, no identifiable landmarks, just faces and timestamp. 2. Screenshots of text messages between Grant and Eden, the ones Eden had photographed and forgotten to delete. 3. A simple note. This has been going on since July. I'm sorry. I hovered over the send button for a long time. This would destroy their marriage, hurt Sloane in ways she didn't deserve, but staying silent would make me complicit in Grant's lies. I sent it. Then I closed the laptop and waited. 3 days later, I got a call from work. Miles, it's Patricia. Patricia ran procurement for our hospital network. We'd worked together for years. Hey, what's up? Did you hear about MedTech Solutions? My pulse quickened, but I kept my voice neutral. No, what happened? They're pulling Grant Halden from our account. Apparently there was an ethics investigation. Details are confidential, but between you and me, he's done. Wow, that's unexpected. Right? I always thought he was solid. Goes to show you never really know people. You really don't. We talked logistics for a few more minutes. Who would replace Grant, how it would affect the contract timeline, then hung up. I sat at my desk, staring at nothing, and felt a cold satisfaction settle in my chest. Grant was done. Career destroyed, reputation in ruins, one pillar down. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. You did this. Grant, I didn't respond. Another text. You're going to regret this. Then, I know where you work, where you live. You think you're safe? You're not. I screenshotted every message, added them to my evidence folder. Then I blocked the number. Threats were a sign of desperation. Grant was panicking, which meant the pressure was working. The next day, Eden came home early. She walked into the house at 3 p.m., which was unusual. Normally, she didn't get back until 6 or 7. I was working from home, sitting at the dining table with my laptop. She stood in the doorway, staring at me. Grant got fired, she said. I looked up. Did he? Don't play dumb. You did this. Did I? You sent that ethics complaint. I know you did. I closed my laptop. Can you prove it? It was anonymous, but it had your fingerprints all over it. Calendar evidence, expense reports, parking garage footage. Sounds thorough. She crossed her arms. You're destroying his life. He destroyed mine first. That's not how this works, Miles. Isn't it? He made choices. Now he's dealing with consequences. You sent it to his wife too, didn't you? I didn't answer. You did. God, you're pathetic. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, I'm just making sure the truth comes out. The truth? She laughed, bitter. You don't care about the truth. You just want revenge. Maybe, but at least I'm not lying to everyone I know. She stared at me, breathing hard. Grant's wife left him. Took their kid. He's staying in a motel. His career is over. Are you happy now? Not yet. What does that mean? It means this isn't over. Her face went pale. What else could you possibly do? That depends on you. On me? Yeah. Are you going to keep lying? Keep trying to frame me as the bad guy? Or are you going to own what you did? I'm not admitting anything. Then I'm not done. She grabbed her purse and headed back out. I heard the car start, heard her drive away. I sat alone at the dining table and thought about what came next. Grant's career, destroyed. Grant's marriage, over. But Eden still had her job, her reputation, her carefully curated social circle. That needed to change. I opened my laptop and pulled up the list of contacts from Eden's real estate firm. Colleagues, clients, partners. I couldn't just blast out the affair details. That would be crude. Ineffective, but I could plant seeds. I started with a casual message to one of Eden's coworkers, someone I'd met at parties, someone who liked office gossip. Hey, random question. Has Eden seemed off to you lately? I'm worried about her, but she won't talk to me. Response came within an hour. Now that you mention it, yeah, she's been distracted. Everything okay at home? I honestly don't know. I think she might be going through something. Want me to check in with her? That'd be great. Thanks. Perfect. The seed was planted. Within days, the office gossip mill would start churning. That night, I got another call from Nolan. You need to stop, he said without preamble. Stop what? Whatever you're doing, you're going to push this too far. I haven't done anything illegal. That's not the point. You're becoming obsessed. I'm being thorough. No, you're being vindictive. They deserve it. Maybe, but at what cost? You're spending all your time plotting revenge instead of moving on. I'll move on when it's done. When will it be done, Miles? When Grant's living on the street? When Eden loses her job? When are you going to have enough? I didn't answer. Look, Nolan continued softer. I get it. You're hurt. You want them to feel what you felt. But this path you're on? It doesn't end well. It ends with them understanding there are consequences. And then what? Then it's over. Is it? Or will you just find something else to punish them for? I hung up. He didn't understand. Couldn't understand. This wasn't about endless revenge. It was about balance, restoring equilibrium. They'd taken everything from me. Now I was taking it back. And I wasn't done yet. The dirtiest part was how normal breakfast looked. Eden sat across from me at the kitchen table, yogurt and granola in a white bowl, phone face down beside her coffee mug. She scrolled through emails on her tablet, occasionally making small sounds of acknowledgement at whatever she was reading. The morning light came through the window at that perfect angle that made everything look staged, like a commercial for suburban contentment. I ate my eggs and watched her perform normalcy. She'd showered immediately when she got home last night. Not unusual by itself. She always showered before bed. But it was 9:30 p.m., and she'd supposedly been at the office until 9. The office where she sat in air conditioning all day, doing paperwork and client calls. Why shower after that? I didn't ask, just filed it away. I have a site visit today, she said, not looking up from the tablet. Might be late getting back. Which site? The Riverside development, final walkthrough before the investor presentation. Sounds important. It is? She finally looked at me. Her makeup was perfect, as always. Hairstyled, outfit coordinated. Everything about her appearance was controlled, calculated, presentation ready. But there was something in her eyes. Exhaustion, maybe. Or fear. Miles, we need to talk. I set down my fork. About what? About this. Us. What you're doing. What am I doing? Don't. You know exactly what you're doing. Grant lost his job, his wife left him, and I know you're behind it. Am I? Yes. And it needs to stop. I leaned back in my chair. Why? Because you're destroying people's lives. Like you destroyed mine. She flinched. I made a mistake. I know that. But what you're doing is so much worse. Is it? I'm just making sure the truth comes out. You're the one who chose to lie. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. But it did. And now you're dealing with consequences. She stood abruptly, chair scraping against the tile. You're not the person I married. Neither are you. She grabbed her purse and walked out. I heard the garage door open, heard her car start, heard her leave. I sat alone in the kitchen and finished my eggs. After breakfast, I went through the laundry. Eden's clothes from yesterday were in the hamper. I pulled them out piece by piece, checking pockets, examining fabric. In her blazer pocket, a receipt from a restaurant downtown. 2 entrees, 2 cocktails, paid in cash, but the itemized receipt showed the date and time. Thursday night. 7:15 p.m. When she'd texted me, she was working late at the office. I photographed the receipt and added it to my folder. In her dress pocket, nothing. But when I held the fabric up to the light, I saw something. A faint stain on the hem. Wine, maybe. Or sauce from the restaurant. I photographed that too. Then I noticed something else. The dress had a wrinkle pattern across the back. Diagonal lines that looked like they'd been pressed into the fabric by something leather. Like a car seat. Grant drove a luxury sedan. Leather interior. I took photos from multiple angles, documenting the pattern. These were the details people whispered about. The small, intimate proofs that someone had been somewhere they shouldn't have been, doing things they shouldn't have done. I moved to the bathroom, checked the trash can, found a crumpled tissue with lipstick marks. The color didn't match any of Eden's usual shades. Darker, more dramatic. She'd been wearing different makeup, the kind you wore when you wanted to look good for someone specific. I photographed it. In the shower, I found a different brand of body wash. Not the one we kept in the caddy. This one was expensive, hotel quality, the kind of thing you took from a boutique hotel bathroom. She'd showered somewhere else, then come home and showered again to wash away the evidence. Almost worked. I photographed the bottle, then I checked her car. I opened the garage door and walked around her vehicle, looking for anything unusual. The interior was clean, too clean, like she'd recently vacuumed it. But when I opened the passenger door, I smelled it. Cologne. Male. Expensive. Grant's cologne. I recognized it from the vendor meetings we'd had, back when I thought he was just another sales guy. I took photos of the interior, then checked the glove compartment. Registration, insurance card, and a hotel key card tucked behind the manual. The Riverside Boutique Hotel. Room 412. I held the card in my hand and felt something cold settle in my chest. She'd kept it, like a souvenir. I photographed it from every angle, then put it back exactly where I found it. These details wouldn't hold up in court, but they'd destroy her in the court of public opinion, in her social circle, in her professional network, because people loved this stuff, the gossip, the scandal, the intimate, dirty details that made someone else's failure feel like entertainment, and I was going to give them exactly what they wanted. That evening, Eden came home at 8, later than she'd said, but not suspiciously so. She dropped her purse, kicked off her heels, and poured herself a large glass of wine. "How was the site visit?" I asked from the couch. "Exhausting." "Did the investors like it?" "They loved it." "Good." She stood in the kitchen, drinking her wine, staring at nothing. "Grant called me today," she said finally. I muted the TV. "Did he?" "He's a mess. He's staying in a motel. His wife won't talk to him. His company put him on unpaid leave pending the investigation." "Sounds rough. You don't care at all, do you?" I looked at her. "Should I?" "He's a human being, Miles. He made a mistake, but he doesn't deserve to have his entire life destroyed." "What about my life? Did I deserve to have it destroyed?" "That's different." "How?" "Because we're married. What happened between us is private. You didn't need to drag his career and his family into it." I laughed. "You're unbelievable. You cheated on me with a married man, and somehow you've convinced yourself that I'm the villain for exposing it." "I'm not saying you're the villain. I'm saying you went too far. And I'm saying I didn't go far enough." She stared at me, wine glass trembling slightly in her hand. "What does that mean?" "It means this isn't over. What else could you possibly do?" "You'll see." She set down her glass harder than necessary and walked upstairs. I heard the guest room door close. I sat alone in the living room and thought about the hotel key card. Room 412, a souvenir she'd kept, probably thinking I'd never find it. But I'd found everything. The receipts, the wrinkle patterns, the cologne, the hotel toiletries, the too-clean car, the immediate showers. All of it added up to a story, and soon everyone would hear it. I pulled out my phone and texted Brielle. "Still willing to help?" She responded immediately. "What do you need? Meet tomorrow. Same park." 2 p.m., I'll be there. I set the phone down and stared at the dark TV screen, my reflection ghostly and distorted. Grant's career was destroyed, his marriage was over, but Eden still had everything, her job, her reputation, her carefully constructed image. That was about to change, because I'd learned something important over the past few weeks. Reputations were fragile. They were built on whispers and perceptions, on what people thought they knew about you. And once those whispers turned dark, once the perception shifted, there was no coming back. Eden had spent years building her brand. The successful career woman, the charming socialite, the woman everyone wanted at their events. I was going to dismantle it piece by piece, And the dirtiest part was how easy it would be. Because people loved watching someone fall from grace. They loved the gossip, the scandal, the intimate details that made them feel superior. All I had to do was give them the story, and I had plenty of details to share. I didn't want to hurt Grant. I wanted him to fear me. There's a difference. Pain fades. Fear lingers. I'd been tracking Grant's movements the same way I'd tracked Eden's. Not obsessively, just methodically. His gym was 3 blocks from my office. He went there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m. Creatures of habit make easy targets. I arrived at the gym parking lot at 5:45 on a Wednesday, parked where I could see the entrance, waited. Grant's car pulled in at 5:58. He parked, grabbed his gym bag, and headed inside. I didn't follow, not yet. At 7:15, he came back out, showered, changed, ready for his day, or what was left of his day, now that he had no job to go to. I got out of my car and walked across the parking lot. He was unlocking his door when I called his name. Grant. He turned, saw me. His face went through several emotions in quick succession: surprise, recognition, anger. "What do you want?" he asked. I walked closer, not running, just steady, purposeful steps that ate up the distance between us. "We need to talk," I said. "I have nothing to say to you." "That's fine. You can listen." I was close now, close enough that he had to tilt his head slightly to maintain eye contact, close enough that I could see the exhaustion in his face, the stubble he'd missed while shaving, the wrinkles in his shirt that suggested he'd slept in it. He looked like what he was, a man whose life was falling apart. "You need to back off," he said. "Or what?" "Or this gets worse for both of us," I laughed. "Worse for me? How exactly? I'm not the one who got fired. I'm not the one whose wife left. I'm not the one living in a motel." His jaw tightened. "You think you're so smart? You think you've won." "Haven't I?" "No, because when Eden and I go public with our relationship, when we tell everyone the truth about your controlling behavior, your harassment, your stalking." I moved before he finished the sentence. Not a punch, not a tackle. Just a sharp step forward that put me in his space, close enough that he flinched back against his car. I grabbed the front of his shirt, tight, deliberate. "Let me be very clear," I said, voice low. "If you or Eden try to spin this into me being the problem, I will release every piece of evidence I have, not just to HR, not just to your wife, to everyone, your clients, your former colleagues, every person in your professional network. I will make sure that when people search your name, the first thing they find is documentation of your affair and your ethics violations." He tried to pull back, but he was pressed against the car door. Trapped. "You're threatening me," he said. "No, I'm explaining consequences." I held his shirt for another second, then let go. Pushed him slightly as I released, just enough to make him stumble. He caught himself, breathing hard, eyes wide. "Stay away from Eden," I said. "Stay away from me, and if you're smart, you'll disappear quietly and rebuild your life somewhere else." "You can't tell me what to do." I smiled. "Watch me." I turned and walked back to my car. Heard him behind me, sputtering, trying to regain some sense of control. "This isn't over," he called out. I didn't turn around, just kept walking. By the time I reached my car, my hands were shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline. From the raw, visceral satisfaction of watching him flinch. I'd touched him, not beaten him, not injured him, just made him understand, physically, that he wasn't safe, that I wasn't someone he could dismiss or threaten. I drove away and checked my rearview mirror. Grant was still standing in the parking lot staring after me. Good. Let him stand there. Let him feel small. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello? Miles Varick?" A woman's voice. Professional. Clipped. "Yes? This is Detective Sarah Brennan with the City Police. I need to ask you a few questions about an incident this morning." My stomach dropped. "What incident?" "A man named Grant Halden filed a report alleging you assaulted him in a parking lot. I'd like to hear your side of the story." I forced myself to stay calm. "Where would you like to meet?" "Can you come to the station this afternoon?" "What time?" 2 p.m.? "I'll be there." I hung up and immediately called Nolan. "Grant filed a police report," I said. "For what?" "He's saying I assaulted him." "Did you?" I grabbed his shirt, pushed him slightly. That's it? No punches? No injuries? Nolan swore. "Miles, that's still assault. Technically." "I know. What do I do?" "Get a lawyer. Right now." Don't talk to the police without one. I can't afford a lawyer. Then get a public defender, but do not go to that station without representation. I called the station back and rescheduled for the next day. Then I spent the afternoon researching lawyers, my hands still shaking from adrenaline and fear. By evening, I'd found someone, a criminal defense attorney who offered a free consultation. I explained the situation. He listened without interrupting. "Okay," he said when I finished. "Here's the good news. If you didn't injure him, if there are no witnesses, and if you can demonstrate he was threatening you first, this probably won't go anywhere. Prosecutors don't waste time on mutual combat scenarios between two men having a personal dispute. And the bad news? The bad news is that he can still make your life difficult. Even if charges aren't filed, the report exists. And if you do anything else, anything at all, that can be construed as threatening, this gets worse fast. So what should I do? Stay away from him. Don't contact him. Don't go near him. And if the police want to talk to you, we go together and you say as little as possible. Will this affect my job? Only if charges are filed, and even then, probably not, unless you work in a field where arrests matter." I thanked him and hung up. Then I sat alone in my house and thought about how close I'd come to destroying everything I'd built. One grab, one push. That's all it took for Grant to flip the script and make me look like the aggressor. Nolan was right. I was getting reckless. But I couldn't stop now. That evening, Eden came home and went straight to the guest room without speaking to me. I didn't follow her. Just sat in the living room, thinking about the detective's call, about Grant's police report, about how easily this could all collapse. At 9 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from the unknown number Grant had used before. "You're going to jail, and when you do, I'll be there to pick up the pieces with Eden." I stared at the message. He thought he'd won, thought the police report would scare me into backing off. He was wrong. I screenshotted the message and sent it to my lawyer. Then I texted back, "See you in court?" I wasn't done with Grant, not even close, but I needed to be smarter, more careful, because if I went too far, if I gave him ammunition, everything I'd built would crumble, and I couldn't let that happen, not when I was so close to the end. Eden tried to make me look like the cheater. I discovered it the way I discovered everything else, by paying attention to details other people thought were invisible. It started with a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. I'd come home early from work, headache forcing me to call it a day at 3 p.m. Eden's car was in the driveway, which was unusual. She normally didn't get back until 6. I walked in through the garage, quiet, planning to take some ibuprofen and lie down. That's when I heard her voice from upstairs, on the phone, talking fast. "I know it looks bad, but you have to understand, he's been acting erratic for months. Checking my phone, asking where I've been, following me." I froze at the bottom of the stairs. "No, I haven't called the police yet, but I'm documenting everything. Texts, emails, times when he's shown up places unexpectedly." My blood went cold. I think he might be having some kind of breakdown, and I'm scared of what he might do if I try to leave. I stood perfectly still, barely breathing, listening to her construct a narrative that painted me as the villain. Brielle's been helpful. She's witnessed some of his behavior, but I need more people who can back me up if this goes to court. She was building a case against me. The lawyer said if I can establish a pattern of controlling behavior, I have a stronger position in the divorce, and if he's been violent or threatening, even better. Even better. My wife was hoping I'd do something violent so she could use it against me. I know, it's awful, but I have to protect myself. He's not the person I married anymore. I backed away from the stairs, moving silently, and slipped out through the garage. Got in my car and drove to a coffee shop 3 blocks away. Sat there for an hour, hands shaking, replaying what I'd heard. Eden wasn't just defending herself. She was actively building a counter-narrative, documenting my erratic behavior, collecting witnesses, preparing for a divorce where she'd paint me as unstable, controlling, possibly dangerous. And if I gave her any ammunition, like, say, grabbing Grant in a parking lot, she'd use it to bury me. I called my lawyer. "We need to meet," I said. "Today." "What happened?" "Eden's building a case against me, calling me controlling, erratic. She's documenting things that make me look bad." "Has she filed for divorce?" "Not yet, but she's preparing." "Okay, come to my office. Bring everything you have, every piece of evidence, every document. We need to get ahead of this." I spent the next 2 hours in his office, laying out everything: the affair evidence, the timeline, the parking garage footage, the text messages, the receipts. And then I told him about what Eden was doing. He listened, taking notes, his expression growing grimmer. "This is classic Darvo," he said when I finished. "What's that?" "Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. She's denying the affair, attacking your credibility, and positioning herself as the victim of your behavior. Can she do that? She can try, and if she's convincing enough, if she has witnesses who'll back her up, she might succeed. So, what do I do? You stay clean. You document everything from this point forward. You don't raise your voice. You don't send angry texts. You don't confront her. You give her nothing she can use. And the affair evidence? We save it. If she files for divorce and tries to paint you as the bad guy, we counter with the truth. But we do it strategically, not emotionally. What about Grant's police report? That's trickier. We need to make sure that doesn't turn into charges. But if it does, we demonstrate that you were responding to his threats, not initiating violence. I left his office feeling slightly more stable, but deeply unsettled. Eden had been 3 steps ahead of me this entire time. While I'd been gathering evidence of her affair, she'd been gathering evidence of my controlling behavior. And I'd handed her ammunition by confronting Grant. I needed to be smarter. That evening, I came home after Eden did. She was in the kitchen, making dinner, acting like everything was normal. "Hey," she said when I walked in. "Where were you?" "Coffee shop. Needed to clear my head." "Everything okay?" "Fine." She studied me for a moment, then went back to chopping vegetables. We ate dinner in near silence, made small talk about work, about the weather, about nothing important, but I could feel her watching me, assessing, looking for anything she could add to her narrative. After dinner, I went to my office and pulled up the doorbell camera footage. Started reviewing it systematically, looking for anything Eden might try to use against me. Found something interesting. 2 weeks ago, Brielle had come over. Iden and I had had a brief argument in the driveway. Not loud, not physical, just a tense exchange about scheduling, and the doorbell camera had caught it. In the footage, I looked frustrated. Iden looked calm, reasonable. If she showed that to a judge without context, I'd look like the aggressive one. I checked the rest of the footage, found other moments. Times when I'd come home late and Eden had been waiting, asking where I'd been. In the footage, I looked defensive. She looked worried. She was curating evidence the same way I was. But her version painted a completely different story. I needed to counter that. I started my own timeline. Not of her affair, I already had that, but of my behavior. Times when I'd been calm, reasonable, non-threatening. I pulled footage of me bringing her coffee in the morning, footage of us having normal conversations, footage of me leaving for work without incident. If she tried to paint me as erratic, I'd show the judge a different picture. Then I did something I'd been avoiding. I called Brielle. "We need to talk," I said. "In person." "About what?" "About what Eden's asking you to do." Silence. Then, "How did you know?" I heard her on the phone. She said, "You've been witnessing my behavior." "Miles, I'm not angry. I just need to know what she's asked you to say." We met the next morning. Same park, same bench. Brielle looked exhausted. She called me 3 days ago, asked if I'd be willing to give a statement about you. "What kind of statement?" "That you've been acting paranoid, controlling, that I've seen you check her phone, that you showed up at her office unannounced." "Did you agree?" "I said I'd think about it." "But you haven't given her anything yet?" "No." "Why not?" She looked at me. "Because I know what she did, and I know what you're trying to do, and I'm not going to help her lie. Even if it costs you your friendship? We're not friends, not really. She uses people. I'm just finally seeing it." I felt something loosen in my chest. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. Because Eden's not going to stop. She's going to find other people, build her case, and eventually she's going to file." "I know. And when she does, it's going to get ugly." "I know that, too." We sat in silence for a moment. "What are you going to do?" Brielle asked. "I'm going to make sure the truth comes out before she can bury it." "How?" "By being smarter than she is." Brielle looked skeptical. Eden's been playing social games her whole life. She's good at this. So am I. I just play different games. I left Brielle at the park and drove to Nolan's office. "I need your help with something," I said. "What now?" "Eden's been documenting my behavior, making me look unstable. I need to counter that with my own documentation." "What kind of documentation?" "Video. Audio. Proof that I've been calm, reasonable, non-threatening. Can you help me set that up?" He sighed. "Miles, this is getting out of hand." "I know, but I don't have a choice. If I don't protect myself, she's going to destroy me. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but we do this right. Legal cameras, legal recordings, nothing that crosses the line. Deal. We spent the next hour planning. Cameras in my car, cameras in my home office, audio recording on my phone during any conversation with Eden, all legal, all defensible. By the time I left Nolan's office, I had a plan. Eden thought she was building a case against me, but I was building a better one. And when the time came, I'd make sure everyone saw the truth. Not the truth she wanted them to see, the actual truth. There was one night I almost lost control. Eden had been gone for hours. She'd left at 6, saying she had a work dinner. By midnight, she still wasn't home. I'd been trying to stay calm, trying to follow my lawyer's advice. Don't confront, don't track, don't engage. But at 12:30, something in me snapped. I got in my car and drove. I told myself I was just going for a drive, clearing my head, but my hands gripped the steering wheel too tight, and my jaw ached from clenching, and I knew I was lying to myself. I pulled up the GPS tracker on her car, still active, still showing her location, east side, near the hotel. Of course, I drove there, not speeding, not reckless, just steady, purposeful movement through the dark city streets. Rain had started falling, light at first, then heavier, the kind of rain that made everything look slick and dangerous under the streetlights. I parked across from the hotel, cut the engine, watched. At 12:53, the hotel doors opened. Eden stepped out, pulling her coat tight against the rain. She hurried toward the parking garage. 30 seconds later, Grant followed. They didn't leave together, never together. Always this careful distance, this plausible deniability. I watched Eden's car pull out of the garage, watched her taillights disappear down the street toward our house. I should have left then, should have driven home, beaten her there, pretended I'd been asleep the whole time. But I didn't. I waited. 5 minutes later, Grant's car emerged. He turned the opposite direction, toward the north side where his motel was. I followed. Not close, just close enough to keep his taillights in view. He drove for 15 minutes, eventually pulling into a rundown motel parking lot, the kind of place that rented rooms by the week and didn't ask questions. He parked, got out, walked to a ground floor room and unlocked the door. I sat in my car, engine idling, rain hammering the windshield, and thought about walking over there. Thought about knocking on that door. Thought about what I'd do when he opened it. My hands were shaking, not from cold, from something darker. I wanted to hurt him, really hurt him. Not a grab and a push, something that would make him understand what he'd taken from me. I reached for the door handle, then stopped, because I could see it playing out. Me knocking, him opening the door, me losing control, crossing the line from justified anger to something that would put me in jail, and Eden would win. She'd have her narrative, the unstable husband who assaulted her lover, the controlling man who couldn't handle rejection. I'd lose everything. I pulled my hand back, put the car in reverse, started to leave, and saw movement in my rearview mirror. Grant, standing outside his motel room, looking directly at my car. He'd seen me. We locked eyes across the parking lot. Rain between us, distance between us. But I could see his expression clearly in the motel's fluorescent lights. He looked scared. Good. I smiled, put the car in drive, and left. The drive home took 20 minutes. Eden's car was already in the garage. The house was dark except for one light in the living room. I parked on the street, sat for a moment, forcing my breathing to even out, forcing the adrenaline to fade. Then I went inside. Eden was sitting on the couch, still in her coat, mascara smudged, hair slightly damp from the rain. "Where were you?" she asked. "Couldn't sleep. Went for a drive." "At 1 a.m.? Is that a problem?" She stared at me. "Were you following me?" "Why would I follow you?" "Because you're obsessed with proving something that isn't true." I walked to the kitchen, poured water. My hands were still shaking slightly, but I kept my back to her so she wouldn't see. "How was your work dinner?" I asked. "It was fine." "Must have run late." "It did." "Who was there?" She hesitated. Just a fraction of a second. "Clients. Partners. The usual." "Which clients?" "Miles, I'm exhausted. Can we not do this right now?" I turned to face her. "Do what?" "Interrogate me. Act like I've done something wrong." "Have you?" "No, I've been at a work dinner, that's all." "Until 1 a.m.? "Yes, until 1 a.m., because that's how client dinners work sometimes." We stared at each other across the kitchen island. She was lying, and we both knew it, But she was good at it, confident, unwavering. "You smell like rain," I said. "What?" "Your coat. It smells like rain. And cigarettes." Someone at the dinner was smoking. "You don't usually let people smoke around you." "It was outside. I couldn't avoid it." Every answer smooth, every explanation reasonable, but I'd seen her leave the hotel, seen her hurry through the rain, seen the mascara smudged in a way that suggested hands had touched her face. "I'm going to bed," she said. She walked past me and I smelled it again. Not just rain and cigarettes. Something underneath. Cologne. Grant's cologne. She'd been with him for hours. Then come home and lied about it. And if I confronted her, if I told her I'd followed her, she'd flip it. Use it as proof of my controlling behavior. So I said nothing. Just watched her walk upstairs, listened to the guest room door close, and stood alone in the kitchen, hands gripping the counter edge, breathing slow and deliberate. I'd almost lost control tonight, almost done something that would have destroyed everything I'd built. But I'd pulled back, stayed clean, and tomorrow I'd keep building my case. Because the night drive had taught me something important. I couldn't trust myself around Grant, couldn't trust myself to stay calm when I saw them together. So I needed to change tactics. No more confrontations, no more parking lot encounters, just cold, calculated documentation. Let the evidence speak for itself. Let the system do what I couldn't. I pulled out my phone and opened the file I'd been building, added notes from tonight, timestamps, locations, the fact that Eden had lied about where she'd been. Then I opened my email and sent a message to my lawyer. Need to meet tomorrow. Have new information. His response came through immediately, even at 1:30 a.m. Morning work, 8 a.m. at my office. I'll be there. I set the phone down and stared at the dark window, seeing my reflection ghostly in the glass. The man staring back looked tired, worn, but determined. I wasn't the same person I'd been 3 months ago. That person had been comfortable, trusting, naive. This version was harder, colder. But this version was winning, and I wasn't going to stop until it was over. Paper can hit harder than a brick. I'd been holding on to the ethics complaint evidence for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment. Grant's big presentation was scheduled for Friday, the contract renewal that would have saved his career, the one thing he had left. On Thursday morning, I compiled everything into a clean, professional document. No emotion, no commentary, just facts. Calendar evidence showing meetings that violated conflict of interest policies. Expense reports that exceeded vendor limits, parking garage footage. Text messages, a timeline that made the affair undeniable. I added one more thing, the threatening texts Grant had sent me, the ones where he'd told me to back off or someone might get hurt. Then I submitted it all to 3 places. 1. MedTech Solutions Ethics Hotline, again with additional evidence. 2. My hospital's Vendor Compliance Department. 3. The State Medical Device Sales Licensing Board. By noon, I got a call from Patricia in procurement. "Miles, did you submit a formal complaint against Grant Halden?" "I did." "Jesus, this is detailed. How long have you been gathering this?" "A while." "The hospital's going to have to suspend all business with MedTech pending review. This is serious." "I know." "Are you sure about this? Because once it's in motion, there's no taking it back." "I'm sure." She sighed. "Okay. Just be prepared. This is going to make waves." I hung up and felt a cold satisfaction settle in my chest. The first domino had fallen. By 2 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The message was Grant. Furious. Barely coherent. "You think you've won? You think destroying my career makes you the good guy? I'm going to bury you. I'm going to tell everyone what kind of person you really are. You're going to regret this." I saved the voicemail. Added it to the file. Then I called my lawyer. "Grant just left me a threatening message. What should I do?" "Save it. Document it. If he contacts you again, we file for a restraining order." "Will that work?" "Depends on the judge. But between the police report he filed and the threats he's making, we can make a case that he's escalating." "Good." That evening, I got a text from Nolan. "Did you do what I think you did?" "Depends what you think I did." "Submitted a formal complaint that's going to end Grant's career?" "Yes." "Jesus, Miles, you really went nuclear." "He threatened me. He tried to make me look like the aggressor. I'm just making sure the truth comes out. That's not the truth. That's revenge. Maybe it's both." He didn't respond. I sat alone in my office, staring at my phone, and wondered if Nolan was right. Was this revenge or justice? Did it matter? At 7 p.m., Eden came home. She walked in, dropped her purse, and immediately went to the kitchen to pour wine. "Grant called me," she said without looking at me. "He's being investigated, again, and he thinks you're behind it." "Am I?" She turned. "Yes, obviously." "Can he prove it?" "The complaint is anonymous, but it has your fingerprints all over it. The same evidence you've been collecting, the same timeline. Sounds thorough. It's vindictive. It's accurate." She stared at me, wine glass trembling in her hand. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Grant's career is over. His wife left him. He's living in a motel. And now this. He made choices. These are the consequences. No, these are your revenge fantasy. And you're destroying an innocent person to satisfy your ego." I laughed. "Innocent? He slept with my wife. He threatened me. He filed a false police report. He's many things, but innocent isn't one of them." "You're a monster." "No, I'm just someone who refuses to be the victim anymore." She set down her glass and walked toward me, stopped a few feet away, close enough that I could see the tears forming in her eyes. "Please stop. Please, I'm begging you. This has gone too far." "Has it?" "Yes. People are getting hurt. Real people with real lives." "Like I got hurt? Like my real life got destroyed?" "That's different." "How?" "Because what happened between us was private. What you're doing is public. You're humiliating him. You're ruining him." "Good." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "I want him ruined," I continued. "I want everyone to know what kind of person he is. What kind of person you are. I want consequences." "And what about what it's doing to you? Can't you see what this is turning you into?" I met her eyes. "I can see perfectly. I'm finally the person I should have been all along." She backed away slowly, like I was something dangerous. Maybe I was. "I'm leaving," she said quietly. "Where?" "A hotel. I can't stay here. Not with you. Not like this." "Fine." She went upstairs. I heard her moving around, packing. 20 minutes later, she came down with a suitcase. "I'll be back for the rest of my things," she said. "Take your time." She looked at me one more time, something like sadness in her eyes, then walked out. I heard the garage door open, heard her car start, heard her drive away. Then I was alone in the house. Complete silence except for the hum of the refrigerator and the tick of the wall clock. I sat on the couch and pulled out my phone, checked the ethics hotline website. My complaint had been logged, case number assigned, investigation status, active. Then I checked Grant's LinkedIn. His profile was still up, but the company name was gone. Employment status, blank. The domino had fallen exactly as planned, but instead of satisfaction, I felt something hollow. Eden was gone. Grant's career was destroyed. And I was sitting alone in an empty house, wondering if Nolan and my lawyer and Eden were all right. Was I becoming someone I didn't recognize? I thought about the night drive, about grabbing Grant's shirt in the parking lot, about the cold satisfaction I'd felt submitting the complaint. These weren't the actions of the person I'd been, the quiet husband who avoided conflict, the reliable guy who prioritized everyone else's comfort. That person was gone. This version was harder, meaner, more willing to hurt people who hurt him, and I didn't know how to feel about that. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You're going to pay for this." Grant. I stared at the message, thought about responding, then deleted it and blocked the number. He couldn't hurt me anymore. His threats were empty. His life was in ruins. I'd won. So why did it feel like losing? I sat in the dark living room and thought about what came next. Grant was down, but Eden still had her job, her reputation, her social circle. And that meant I wasn't done yet, because the whole point of this was to make sure they both understood there were consequences. Real, permanent, devastating consequences. Grant had lost his career and his marriage. Now Eden needed to lose hers. I pulled out my laptop and started planning Phase 2. It was time to turn the Whisper network against her. Eden loved parties, so I used a party. She'd built her entire career on social currency. The right connections, the right impressions, the right whispers that kept her name at the top of everyone's list for events, partnerships, opportunities. I was going to poison that well. 2 weeks after Eden left, she had a major event. A charity gala her firm was hosting. High-profile donors, business partners, local politicians. Everyone who mattered in her world would be there. She'd mentioned it months ago, back when we were still pretending to be happy. She'd been excited, nervous. This was her event to run, her chance to prove herself indispensable to the firm. I wasn't invited, obviously, but I didn't need to be there to make an impact. I just needed the right people to hear the right story. I started with Sloan, Grant's wife, the woman I'd sent evidence to weeks ago. I found her through social media, sent her a carefully worded message. I know this is difficult, but I thought you should know that Grant's relationship with Eden Varick is still ongoing. She's hosting an event this Saturday. I'm not asking you to do anything, just thought you deserved to know. She responded within an hour. Thank you for telling me. I appreciate it. That was all, but it was enough, because Sloan was smart, professional, connected, and she'd know exactly what to do with that information. Next, I reached out to Brielle. I need you to go to Eden's gala, I said. Why? Because I need someone there who knows the truth, someone who can facilitate conversations. You want me to spread gossip. I want you to tell the truth. There's a difference. She hesitated. What exactly do you want me to say? Nothing overt. Just, if people ask about Eden, if they mention her name, you let them know she's been having an affair with a married vendor who got fired for ethics violations. You don't embellish, you don't dramatize, you just state facts. That's still gossip. It's also true. She was quiet for a long moment. Fine, but this is the last thing I'm doing for you. Deal. Saturday arrived. I spent the day at home, alone, thinking about Eden at her event. Charming donors, making connections, pretending everything was fine. By evening, my phone started buzzing. First text was from Brielle. Sloan showed up. My pulse kicked up. And? She's talking to people, very calm, very factual. But word is spreading fast. What's Eden doing? She doesn't know yet. She's working the room, but people are starting to whisper. I set the phone down and imagined the scene. The elegant ballroom, the champagne, the networking, and underneath it all, the whispers spreading like a virus. Did you hear about Eden Varick? She was having an affair with a married vendor. He got fired for it. Ethics violations. His wife is here, right now, talking to donors. 30 minutes later, another text from Brielle. Eden just found out. She pulled Sloan aside. It's not going well. Define not going well. Raised voices, people watching. Eden's trying to control the situation, but it's too late. Everyone knows. Perfect. An hour later, Brielle called. She left, Brielle said. Eden. She literally walked out of her own event. What happened? Sloan confronted her in front of about a dozen people, didn't yell, didn't make a scene, just asked, very calmly, why Eden thought it was okay to destroy her marriage. Eden tried to deny it. Sloan pulled out her phone and showed evidence. Photos from the parking garage, text messages. Eden went pale and just left. Is the event still happening? Yeah, but everyone's talking about her. This is going to destroy her reputation. I thanked Brielle and hung up. Sat in the dark living room, phone in hand, and felt something shift. This was it, the social execution. Eden's carefully constructed image, years in the making, crumbling in one night. No evidence in court, no lawyers, no formal accusations, just whispers. And in her world, whispers were everything. My phone rang. Eden, I answered. I hope you're happy, she said. Her voice was raw, broken. I am? You did this. You brought Sloan to my event. I didn't bring anyone anywhere. I just made sure she knew when and where it was happening. You're destroying my life. Now you know how it feels. She was crying now. Real tears. I've lost everything. My job is going to fire me. Everyone thinks I'm a homewrecker. My reputation is ruined. Good. How can you be so cruel? You taught me. She hung up. I sat in the silence and thought about what I'd become. A man who weaponized social dynamics, who used whispers and innuendo to destroy someone's reputation. Nolan would say I'd gone too far. My lawyer would say I'd been smart. Eden would say I was a monster. And I didn't know which one was right. But I knew one thing. The score was evening out. Grant's career was destroyed. Eden's reputation was in ruins. And I was still standing. Still clean. Still 3 steps ahead. The next day, Eden came to the house. She looked exhausted. Makeup couldn't hide the puffiness around her eyes, the hollowness in her cheeks. I need to get the rest of my things, she said. Fine. She went upstairs. I heard her moving around, packing boxes, taking what was hers. When she came back down, she had 3 suitcases and 2 boxes. I'm staying with my sister, she said. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce. Looking forward to it. She stared at me. You really hate me, don't you? No, I just don't love you anymore. That's worse. She turned and walked out. I helped her load her car. not out of kindness, just because it was faster, and watched her drive away. And then the house was truly empty. No Eden, no tension, just silence. I walked through the rooms, seeing the spaces where her things used to be. The photos removed from the walls, the closet half empty, the bathroom counter cleared of her products. It was over. The marriage was done. But the revenge wasn't finished yet. Because Eden still had her job, still had clients who didn't know the full story, still had a professional life that could be salvaged. And I needed to make sure that didn't happen. I pulled out my laptop and started drafting an email to her firm's HR department. Not anonymous. This time I signed my name, because I wanted her to know exactly who had ended it. The most dangerous place was my own living room. Eden showed up 3 days after she'd moved out. No warning, no text. Just the sound of her key in the lock at 7 p.m. I was working at the dining table, laptop open, going through documents for my lawyer. She walked in without knocking, without asking, like she still lived here. "We need to talk," she said. I closed my laptop. "About what?" "About ending this, before it gets worse. It's already as bad as it can get." "No, it's not." She set her purse down and sat across from me. Her hands were shaking slightly. "You've destroyed Grant's career. You've ruined my reputation. You've gotten what you wanted. Can we please just stop now?" "I haven't gotten what I wanted." "What more do you want?" "I want you to admit what you did, publicly, without excuses." "I can't do that." "Then we keep going." She closed her eyes, breathing slow and deliberate. When she opened them, something had shifted. The vulnerability was gone, replaced by something harder. "Miles, I'm going to give you one chance to walk away from this. One chance to settle the divorce quietly, split assets fairly, and move on. And if I don't, then I release everything I have on you, every piece of evidence showing your controlling behavior, your stalking, your harassment. I'll file a restraining order. I'll tell everyone you're unstable, dangerous, and I'll make sure you lose your job." I leaned back. "That's your play? Threaten me?" "I'm trying to protect both of us." "You're trying to protect yourself." "Fine. Yes, I'm trying to protect myself, because you've made it clear you're not going to stop until I have nothing left." "Sounds about right." She pulled out her phone and opened a folder. "I have recordings, Miles, of our conversations, of you accusing me, of you making threats." "I never threatened you." "You said you were going to destroy my reputation. That's a threat." "It's also the truth, and truth isn't a threat." She played one of the recordings, my voice clear and cold. "I want you to understand that I'm not the one who's going to look bad when this gets out." Then another clip. "I'm going to make sure Grant loses everything." She set the phone down. "See, you sound unstable, obsessed, and a judge will see it that way too. Except I have my own recordings, showing you lying, showing you trying to manipulate Brielle into backing up false accusations, showing you planning to frame me." Her face went pale. "You've been recording me?" "Same as you've been recording me. Difference is, my recordings show the truth." We stared at each other, a standoff. "This is insane," she said finally. "We're sitting here threatening each other with evidence like we're enemies." "We are enemies. You made us enemies when you decided to cheat and then tried to destroy me to cover it up." "I wasn't trying to destroy you." "Yes, you were. You were building a case, calling me controlling, unstable. You were preparing to paint me as the villain so you could walk away clean. I was protecting myself from exactly this, from you turning into someone who'd ruin my life out of spite." "It's not spite. It's consequences." She stood abruptly, chair scraping. "I came here to offer you a deal, a way out, but you're too far gone to take it." "What's the deal?" "We file for divorce, cite irreconcilable differences. No fault. We split assets 50-50. Neither of us releases evidence. Neither of us tells our side. We just end it, quietly. And you get to keep your job, your reputation, everything. And you get to keep yours." I thought about it. Really thought about it. It was the smart play. The clean exit. No more fighting, no more revenge. Just closure. But it meant Eden would walk away without fully understanding what she'd done, without facing the complete consequences. "No," I said. "Miles, no deal. I'm not letting you walk away like nothing happened." Her expression hardened. "Then you leave me no choice." She pulled out her phone and started typing. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Filing the restraining order, right now." "On what grounds?" "That you've been harassing me, threatening me, making me fear for my safety." "That's a lie." "Prove it." I stood, walked to my office, came back with my laptop. You want to file a restraining order? Fine. But I'm filing a counterclaim, and I'm attaching every piece of evidence I have. The affair, the gaslighting, your plan to frame me, all of it. You're bluffing. Try me. We stood across from each other, phones and laptops out, both ready to push the button that would escalate everything. Then Eden's phone rang. She looked at the screen, went pale. "Who is it?" I asked. "My boss." She answered, listened. Her face went from pale to gray. "I understand," she said quietly. "Yes, tomorrow. I'll be there." She hung up. "What was that?" I asked. "I've been put on administrative leave, pending an internal review." "Of what?" "Someone sent HR documentation of the affair. With Grant. They're investigating whether it violated company policy." I didn't say anything. She looked at me. "It was you, wasn't it?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "You sent them evidence." "Did I?" Her hands were shaking now. "You're going to cost me my job. After everything else, you're taking that too." "I'm not taking anything. You did this to yourself." "By having an affair?" "People have affairs all the time. It doesn't mean they should lose their careers." "You had an affair with a vendor. That's a conflict of interest. Your company has policies about that." "You self-righteous prick." "I prefer thorough." She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Stopped, turned back. "I hope you're happy, Miles. I hope this is everything you wanted. Because when it's over, when I have nothing left, you're going to look at yourself and realize what you've become." "I already know what I've become." "Do you?" "Because I don't think you do. I think you're so focused on revenge that you can't see how much it's changed you. You're not the person I married. You're not even the person you were 3 months ago." "Good." She stared at me, then left. I heard the door close, heard her car start, heard her drive away, and sat alone in the living room, the adrenaline fading, leaving just exhaustion. She was right about one thing. I wasn't the person I'd been 3 months ago. That person had been trusting, forgiving, willing to overlook flaws. This person was harder, calculating, willing to hurt people who hurt him, and I didn't know if I could go back, or if I even wanted to. The last move had to end everything in one hit. I'd spent weeks building toward this moment, every piece of evidence, every strategic play, every domino carefully positioned. Now it was time to let them fall. I'd scheduled a meeting, not at our house, not at a coffee shop, at the hospital's administrative building, conference room B, neutral territory, professional setting. I'd sent invitations to 4 people, 1, Eden, 2, Grant, 3, my lawyer, 4, a mediator from the hospital's conflict resolution department. The mediator didn't know what the meeting was about, just that it involved a vendor dispute that needed resolution. Eden and Grant thought it was a settlement meeting, a chance to negotiate an end to the chaos. They were wrong. Grant arrived first. He looked worse than I'd seen him, unshaven, suit wrinkled, eyes hollow. The motel living was showing. He saw me and stopped. "What is this?" "A conversation. Sit." "I'm not sitting anywhere with you." "Then leave. But if you do, everything I have gets released to everyone who matters. Your choice." He sat. Eden arrived 5 minutes later. She'd tried to maintain her appearance, hairstyled, makeup perfect, but couldn't hide the strain. She saw Grant, saw me, looked like she wanted to run. But she sat too. My lawyer arrived, then the mediator. "Thank you all for coming," the mediator said. "I understand there's been a dispute involving vendor relationships and personal conduct. Let's start by establishing what we're here to resolve." "We're here," I said, "to address the fact that Eden Varick and Grant Halden have been having an affair for the past 4 months, an affair that violated multiple professional policies and directly impacted my marriage." The mediator blinked. "I was told this was about vendor conduct." "It is. Grant is a vendor. Was a vendor. He violated ethics policies by engaging in a relationship with a client contact, my wife, while conducting business with this hospital." Grant leaned forward. "This is bullshit. You can't trap us into a meeting and ambush us with accusations." "They're not accusations. They're facts, and I have documentation." I pulled out my folder, set it on the table. Parking garage footage showing Eden and Grant entering a hotel together, multiple times, calendar evidence showing meetings that didn't exist, expense reports showing policy violations, text messages showing the affair, witness statements from people who knew and covered for them. Eden's face had gone ashen. "Miles, please, I'm not done. I also have documentation showing that Eden attempted to frame me as controlling and unstable, that she tried to build a counter-narrative where I was the problem, that she coached witnesses to back up false accusations. I pulled out more documents. Brielle's written statement, recordings of Eden discussing her plan to discredit me, screenshots of her messages trying to manipulate the narrative. The mediator looked overwhelmed. This is beyond my scope. This needs legal intervention. Agreed, my lawyer said, which is why I've prepared documentation for divorce proceedings, including evidence of infidelity and attempted fraud. Fraud? Eden's voice was barely a whisper. Attempting to falsely accuse someone of abuse to gain advantage in a divorce? That's fraud, and possibly defamation. Grant stood. I'm not listening to this. You can't prove half of what you're saying. Sit down, I said. Or what? Or I make one phone call and every piece of evidence goes to the local news. Your name, your face, your affair. All of it public. He sat. I turned to Eden. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to agree to a divorce with no contest, no claims of abuse, no attempts to fight asset division. You walk away with what's legally yours and nothing more. And if I don't, then all of this, I gestured to the folder, gets released. Your firm sees it, your clients see it, everyone in your professional network sees it, and you'll be lucky to find work managing a coffee shop. She was crying now, silent tears running down her face. You've already destroyed me. What more do you want? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. Real ones, permanent ones. I turned to Grant. And you. You stay away from Eden. You stay away from me. You rebuild your life somewhere else. Because if I see you again, if you contact me or threaten me or try anything, I will make sure the rest of your life is a cautionary tale. You're insane, he said. No, I'm thorough. The mediator stood. I'm terminating this meeting. This is not appropriate conflict resolution. Fine, I said. We're done anyway. Eden and Grant left together, both looking shattered. The mediator left, clearly disturbed. My lawyer stayed. That was brutal, he said. It was necessary. Was it? You could have handled this quietly. Through the courts. Courts take time. This was immediate. And it makes you look vindictive. I don't care how I look. I care that it's over. He packed up his briefcase. The divorce will be straightforward now. She won't fight. But Miles, this isn't closure. This is just pain spread around. Maybe, but at least it's even now. He left. I sat alone in the conference room and stared at the folder on the table. Everything I'd built. All the evidence. All the planning. It had worked. Grant was ruined. Eden was broken. The truth was out. And I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not relief, just emptiness. I'd won. But the victory felt hollow. Because in destroying them, I'd destroyed something in myself too. The person I'd been, the quiet, trusting husband, was gone. And in his place was someone harder, colder, willing to hurt people to protect himself. I didn't know if I liked that person, but I couldn't go back. I gathered my papers and left the conference room. Outside, the afternoon sun was bright. People walked past, normal people living normal lives, unaware of the war that had just ended in that building. I got in my car and drove home, to an empty house that used to be a home, and wondered what came next. Revenge isn't loud. It's final. 2 weeks after the conference room confrontation, the divorce papers arrived. Eden had signed without contest. No claims, no fights, just a clean legal end to a marriage that had imploded. I signed them and sent them back. That should have been it. The conclusion. The moment I walked away and started rebuilding, but there was one last thing. Grant. He'd been quiet since the meeting. No texts, no threats, no attempts to contact me, but I knew he was still in the city, still at the motel, still festering, and I couldn't let it end with him thinking he'd gotten away with anything. I found him at his gym, the same one where I'd confronted him before, same parking lot, same time. He was walking to his car when I approached. He saw me and stopped. What do you want? To make sure we're clear. We're clear. You destroyed my life. Message received. Good. But I need you to understand something else. What? I stepped closer. Close enough to invade his space. Close enough that he tensed, ready for violence. But I didn't touch him. Didn't grab him. Just stood there, calm and cold. You tried to threaten me. Multiple times. You tried to make me look like the aggressor. You tried to intimidate me into backing off. So? So I need you to understand that I'm not someone you can intimidate. Not anymore, not ever again. He tried to step back, but his car was behind him, trapped. If I ever hear your name again, I continued, If you ever contact me or Eden or anyone in my life, I will finish what I started. I will make sure you never work in this industry again. I will make sure your name is poisoned everywhere you go. Do you understand? You can't. I leaned in, not touching, just close enough that he felt it. Do you understand? He nodded, face pale. Good. I stepped back. He exhaled, relieved. Then I did something I hadn't planned. I slapped him. Not hard, not brutal. Just a sharp, open-handed slap across his face that made his head snap to the side. He stumbled, more from shock than impact. People in the parking lot stopped, stared. Grant touched his face, stunned. You just... Yeah, I did, and everyone saw it. So if you want to file another police report, go ahead. But make sure you explain to the cops why you deserved it. I turned and walked away. Heard him behind me, sputtering, trying to find words. But I didn't look back. Just kept walking. Got in my car. Drove away. And felt something release in my chest. Not satisfaction, exactly. Just finality. It was over. Grant's career, destroyed. His marriage, ended. His reputation, ruined. Eden's career, damaged beyond repair. Her reputation, shattered. Our marriage, dissolved. And me? I was standing. Still employed. Still financially stable. Still in control of my life. I'd won. But the victory tasted like ash. That evening, I sat in my empty house and went through everything one last time. The evidence, the timeline, the recordings, the emails, all of it neatly organized, all of it documented, proof that I'd been meticulous, strategic, justified, but also proof of what I'd become. Someone who weaponized information, who destroyed lives with paperwork, who used policy and procedure like blunt instruments. I'd changed, and I couldn't pretend I hadn't. My phone rang. Nolan. Hey, I answered. I heard about the divorce. Final? Yeah. How are you feeling? I don't know. Empty mostly. That's normal. You've been running on adrenaline for months. Now that it's over, the crash hits. Is this over? Isn't it? I don't know. Grant's still around. Eden's still in the city. What if... Miles, stop. It's over. You won. Now you need to figure out how to live with what you did. What if I can't? He was quiet for a long moment. Then you talk to someone, a therapist, someone who can help you process this, because you can't carry this alone. Maybe. Not maybe. Definitely. Promise me you'll at least try. I'll think about it. We hung up. I sat in the silence and thought about Nolan's words. Could I live with what I'd done? I'd destroyed two people, methodically, deliberately, using every tool I had. They deserved it. At least that's what I told myself. But did they deserve to lose everything? Their careers, their marriages, their reputations? Or had I gone too far? I thought about the parking lot, the slap, the look on Grant's face, that moment of pure humiliation, witnessed by strangers. I'd wanted that, needed that. One physical consequence to match all the emotional ones. And now it was done. No more planning, no more evidence gathering, no more revenge, just the aftermath. I stood and walked through the empty house, room by room, seeing the spaces where Eden's things used to be, the photos removed, the furniture rearranged. This was my life now, alone, quiet, empty, but mine. Not shared with someone who'd betrayed me, not haunted by lies and infidelity, just mine, and maybe that was enough. I went to my office and opened my laptop, pulled up the divorce papers one last time, read through them, signed and filed. Then I opened a new document, typed one sentence, "It's over." Stared at it for a long moment, then closed the laptop. Tomorrow I'd start figuring out what came next, how to rebuild, how to move forward. But tonight, I just sat in the silence and let it be over. The revenge had landed. The consequences had been delivered, the score was settled, and I was still standing, cold, harder, changed, but standing.